In the heart of Louisiana, the air is thick with history, heat, and secrets. Beneath the grand oak trees draped in Spanish moss, there are homes that have witnessed centuries of sorrow, blood, and betrayal. These plantation houses are more than relics of the past. They are witnesses. Silent observers of injustice, violence, and heartache. Some say the walls themselves remember every cry, every whispered secret, every broken promise. These walls have seen it all. And they hold the secrets of 1,000 midnights. Walk their creaking halls at night, and you may feel eyes following you. You may hear footsteps that echo through rooms long abandoned. Or catch a glimpse of figures in white, drifting silently, never touching the ground. Tonight, we will visit 25 haunted plantation houses in Louisiana, homes where history and horror intertwine, and where the past is never truly gone. Take a deep breath, because once we enter, the ghosts may follow us home. Greetings, my friend. I hope you are somewhere safe tonight, with lights close by, and your heart ready for stories that will chill and linger long after the last word. Louisiana is a land of haunting beauty. The rivers snake through the swamps, the moss-draped oaks sway in ghostly rhythm, and the wind carries whispers from centuries ago. The plantation houses of Louisiana hold stories that are rarely spoken aloud. Tales of betrayal, of servants and masters, of forbidden love, of vengeance from beyond the grave. Visitors often feel an icy touch on their shoulder. Some hear voices calling their names through the hallways. Some see figures standing at windows, watching silently as if waiting for something. Every plantation has its own dark memory, its own restless spirits, its own warning. Before we begin this journey through haunted history, I want to ask you a question. If you could spend one night in a haunted Louisiana plantation, alone in the dark, which room would you dare to enter first, and what would you hope or fear to see? Share your answer in the comments, and let your imagination wander through shadows as we walk together tonight. And let your imagination wander through shadows as we walk together tonight. And let your imagination wander through shadows as we walk together tonight. And let your imagination wander through shadows as we walk together tonight. And let your imagination wander through shadows as we walk together tonight. Myrtle's plantation stands quietly along the banks of the Mississippi, its white columns gleaming in the sunlight, yet casting long, dark shadows that hint at a more mysterious presence. Built in the late 18th century, the plantation has witnessed generations of families, servants, and guests, each leaving an imprint on its grand halls and sprawling grounds. Behind its charming facade, the air carries stories that are whispered rather than spoken, stories that intertwine with the very walls and floors of the estate. Visitors often describe glimpses of figures dressed in 19th-century attire, moving silently through rooms and hallways. These apparitions do not speak, but their presence is undeniable. It is as if the past refuses to remain silent, leaving echoes of life long gone to drift through the halls. Central to the Plantation's lore is the story of Chloe, a former slave whose legend permeates the estate. Guests report fleeting glimpses of a woman in period dress, her presence gentle yet unsettling. She is said to move with purpose, yet her actions remain elusive. Some claim to feel her nearby, a cold brush of air or the faintest movement of a gown across a floor. The story of Chloe has endured for generations, her energy entwined with the plantation itself, a reminder of history that continues to linger in tangible ways. Rooms once filled with laughter now sometimes echo with children's voices. Guests have described the sound of soft giggles drifting through spaces where no children live. These moments are brief, appearing and disappearing as if carried on the wind. The voices are clear, innocent, yet disembodied, and they leave a mixture of curiosity and unease. The sound seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, making each visit an intimate encounter with the unseen. Mirrors within the plantation often play tricks on those who gaze into them. Reflections sometimes reveal faces that vanish the moment they are directly observed. Guests report catching glimpses of figures behind them, only to find the space empty upon turning. The effect is subtle yet unnerving, creating a sense that the house itself remembers, that it holds fragments of its former inhabitants within its surfaces. These moments encourage reflection, both literal and metaphorical, as visitors confront the overlapping layers of history and presence. Walking the hallways of Myrtle's plantation, one can feel a rhythm that is not entirely human. Floors creak underfoot even when no one else is near. Doors close with gentle pressure, and windows rattle in rooms untouched by wind. The Estetia's grand foyer, with its sweeping staircase and ornate chandeliers, sometimes becomes a theater for unseen activity. Shadows stretch across walls and dance in the corners, fleeting yet deliberate, guiding attention to the unseen occupants of this historic home. The plantation grounds add another layer to its mystique. The moss-draped oak trees sway over gardens that have existed for centuries. And the quiet river nearby reflects the light. In a way that seems almost alive. Paths wind through spaces where visitors sometimes feel eyes upon them. The brush of unseen movement in the periphery. Even outside, the history of the land and the lives lived here seems to press gently against those who walk its length. Drawing attention to the stories that remain untold. Sightings and sounds at Myrtle's are not limited to one area of the estate. Guests have reported activity in bedrooms, parlors, and dining areas alike. Some notice objects shifting subtly, as if adjusted by hands no longer present. Silverware may be found slightly out of place, or a chair may appear moved when returning to a room. These small details, though subtle, reinforce the sense that the plantation is alive in ways beyond the ordinary, a keeper of memory and presence. Despite its haunting, the atmosphere at Myrtle's plantation is not malevolent. There is an elegance, a quiet dignity to the experiences reported. Shadows, whispers, and glimpses of figures create a narrative of continuity, connecting past and present. Visitors often describe a strange comfort alongside the unease, as if they are participating in the ongoing life of the estate, even from the other side of time. Even at night, the plantation retains its quiet presence. Moonlight filters through windows, casting silver patterns across the floor. Shadows gather in corners and dissolve into the darkness. The air carries the faint scent of history, mingled with the natural aromas of the gardens and river outside. Each room holds a story, each corridor a memory. Myrtle's plantation is more than a historic home. It is a vessel for stories, a place where echoes of the past intersect with the lives of present-day visitors. Figures in period attire, whispered voices, and shifting reflections all invite contemplation of history, legacy, and the unseen. Every step through the halls is an encounter with time itself, an opportunity to witness the subtle interplay between memory and presence. An opportunity to witness the subtle interplay between memory and presence. Guests leave the plantation with impressions that linger long after departure. The stories of Chloe, the childrena's laughter, and the mysterious figures in mirrors remain vivid in memory. Myrtle's plantation holds a quiet power. A reminder that places, like people, carry the weight of their experiences. It is a living testament to history, an intersection of the tangible and the spectral. And a destination where the past is never truly gone. Forever whispering its secrets to those willing to listen. Oak Alley Plantation stretches along the Mississippi River, its grand avenue of oak trees standing like silent sentinels. The massive branches form a vaulted canopy, their shadows dancing across the ground as the sun dips below the horizon. During the day, visitors walk among the oaks, admiring the symmetry and history of the estate. Yet as night falls, the plantation transforms. The grandeur of the house gives way to an atmosphere thick with memory, and the air carries the faint echo of lives long past. Shadows seem to move along the veranda at night. Those walking near the long columns sometimes glimpse figures out of the corner of their eye. Fleeting and impossible to follow. The veranda becomes a place where light and darkness intertwine. And the eye cannot easily discern reality from memory. Guests describe the sensation of being watched. A gentle awareness that the past lingers in every corner, every hallway, and every room. Footsteps echo on the empty staircases, sometimes soft and hesitant, other times deliberate and firm. The sound carries through the house, startling visitors who expect silence. Guests pause mid-step, listening to the rhythm of these phantom steps. Aware that no one else occupies the halls. The repetition is subtle yet persistent, a reminder that the plantation is more than wood and stone. It is a vessel for the countless people who once moved through its spaces, their presence lingering in ways both visible and unseen. Cold hands brush past those walking through the halls. The touch is brief, a whisper of chill that raises goosebumps along the skin. It is never violent or alarming, but it leaves an impression, a sense of connection to something beyond the living. Visitors speak of sudden drops in temperature, a stark contrast to the warm Louisiana air outside. These moments are fleeting yet unmistakable, reinforcing the notion that the estate carries the energy and memory of the generations who inhabited it. The interiors of the house amplify the haunting presence. Curtains sway despite still air. And objects appear subtly out of place. The interplay of light and reflection creates an environment where ordinary perception is challenged. And the attentive visitor feels the thin veil between past and present. Even the gardens carry a quiet weight. The perfectly aligned oak trees and surrounding foliage hold an atmosphere of both beauty and melancholy. The sound of the river, distant and steady, blends with the faint rustle of leaves and the soft calls of nocturnal wildlife, creating a soundscape that enhances the sense of the unseen. Figures have been reported walking among the oaks at night, vanishing when approached, leaving only the impression of movement and life. The main house itself tells stories without words. Every room, every hallway, and every staircase holds echoes of conversation, laughter, and labor from centuries ago. Guests describe the sensation of standing in a space that remembers, of feeling the weight of history pressing gently on the senses. It is not a presence that frightens, but one that evokes reflection, curiosity, and an awareness of the lives that shaped the plantation. It is not a presence that frightens, but one that evokes reflection, curiosity, and an awareness of the lives that shaped the plantation. At night, the veranda and halls are alive with subtle activity. Shadows glide across walls, doors creak, and the softest whispers seem to echo from empty corners. The phenomena are not overwhelming, but they are persistent. Visitors feel the past brushing against the present, a connection to the people who lived, worked, and dreamed within these walls. The house becomes a place where history and memory are tangible, experienced through sensation, sight, and sound. The estate also holds moments of stillness that deepen the atmosphere. The absence of movement highlights the presence of what remains. The river murmurs in the distance. And the stars above cast their pale light across the grounds. The past is not separate from the present here. It lingers in the halls, the veranda, and the avenue of trees. The past is not separate from the present here. The absence of movement highlights the presence of what remains. In these quiet moments, visitors sense the layered lives that once inhabited the plantation. The past is not separate from the present here. Visitors leave Oak Alley Plantation carrying the weight of history and memory. The grand oaks, the sweeping verandas, and the silent halls leave a lasting impression, a blend of beauty, mystery, and quiet haunting. The plantation exists as a living connection to the past, where shadows, whispers, and cold drafts serve as gentle reminders that the people who walked these grounds before are not entirely gone. Oak Alley is a place where every step taken, every glance cast, carries the sense of presence, inviting those who visit to witness the delicate dance between history, memory, and the unseen. The plantation stands as a testament to both human achievement and the persistence of memory. Its grand architecture and stately oaks hold stories of lives lived, struggles endured, and moments remembered. Visitors experience a space that is as haunting as it is beautiful, where each shadow, each sound, and each subtle movement invites reflection and connection. Where each shadow, each sound, and each subtle movement invites reflection and connection. Oak Alley Plantation is more than a historic estate, it is a living chronicle, a place where the past remains vividly present, quietly observing all who enter. A place where the past remains vividly present, quietly observing all who enter. Laura Plantation sits along the banks of the Mississippi River. A sprawling estate rich with Creole history and the weight of countless stories. The mansion, with its iconic gingerbread trim and whitewashed walls, seems to watch over its grounds with an enduring presence. Visitors are drawn not only by its architectural beauty but also by the sense of lingering history that permeates every corner of the property. In the gardens, figures dressed in clothing from bygone eras sometimes appear. They move silently among the magnolias and oak trees, tending to gardens that seem to remember their care. Their movements are fleeting, often noticed only from the corner of the eye, yet they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. The presence feels natural, as if the land itself continues to hold the memory of those who walked it long ago. Inside the mansion, voices echo through the corridors. Sometimes words are repeated, fragments of conversation belonging to past owners and residents. The sound is soft but clear, filling the air with a presence that feels both familiar and unsettling. Guests walking the halls may pause, sensing the weight of these words and the history they carry. The mansion seems alive with the memory of its past, each room a vessel of stories and experiences. Objects occasionally move without explanation. Chairs shift slightly from their positions. Small items on tables may tilt or slide. Visitors are aware of these occurrences without feeling threatened. As though the estate itself participates in an ongoing dialogue with the present. The architecture of Laura Plantation contributes to the sense of presence. Sunlight filters through the tall windows during the day, casting patterns across floors and walls that shift with the passing hours. At night, dim lanterns and subtle lighting create pockets of shadow where the past seems to gather, adding depth and mystery to every step taken within the mansion. The gardens themselves carry a quiet energy. Pathways lined with flowers and ancient trees seem to bend with memory, guiding visitors through a landscape where time feels layered. Figures appear and disappear among the foliage, shadows stretch and shift, and the faint sound of footsteps may echo softly along gravel paths. The experience is immersive, connecting the natural beauty of the plantation with the presence of those who lived and worked there before. Even the ordinary sounds of the estate take on a different quality. The creak of floorboards, the rustle of leaves, and the distant calls of birds mingle with subtle, unexplainable noises. Or the faint tapping of objects inside rooms where no one is present. Each sound enhances the atmosphere, making the estate feel simultaneously tangible and otherworldly. The history of Laura Plantation is deeply embedded in its environment. Stories of Creole life, generations of families, and the lives of enslaved individuals resonate through the mansion and grounds. This history is not static, it is present in subtle ways, in movements, sounds, and sensations that visitors cannot always explain. The estate becomes a place where past and present coexist, offering a layered experience that engages both mind and senses. Walking through the mansion, one becomes acutely aware of the interplay between the physical and the unseen. Shadows gather in corners, voices linger in empty rooms, and small objects shift in ways that suggest careful attention from an unseen hand. These experiences are never threatening, yet they carry weight, reminding visitors that the STT's stories are alive in a way that transcends ordinary memory. The gardens provide moments of quiet reflection. Figures sometimes appear among the flower beds, tending to the plants. or walking along the paths with deliberate grace. Visitors may feel a gentle presence at their side, or a glance from a figure who vanishes when directly observed. These encounters are subtle but profound, leaving a lingering sense that the land and its caretakers from the past remain closely intertwined. Light and shadow play a central role in shaping perception. Sunlight streaming through trees creates moving patterns across the ground, while lanterns at night cast elongated shadows that shift with every step. These visual nuances enhance the sense of immersion, making every walk feel cinematic, as if the estate itself participates in the unfolding narrative of history and memory. Sounds throughout the plantation form an intricate tapestry. The whisper of wind through leaves, the distant creak of a gate, and the soft echoes of footsteps on polished floors merge seamlessly with unexplained phenomena. Each sound carries with it a subtle weight, encouraging visitors to notice and contemplate the layers of activity, both seen and unseen, that define the estate. Each sound carries with it a subtle weight, encouraging visitors to notice and contemplate the layers of activity, both seen and unseen, that define the estate. Laura Plantation is a space where history is not confined to books or plaques but is experienced in the present moment. Shadows, whispers, and small movements create a living narrative, reminding visitors of the lives and stories that have shaped the estate over centuries. The presence of the past is subtle, never overwhelming, yet undeniably present, leaving a lasting impression on those who walk its grounds. Every step through the mansion and gardens is an invitation to observe closely, to sense the layering of time and presence. To sense the layering of time and presence. Shadows gather and shift, figures appear and vanish, and the sounds of the past echo softly in the air. Visitors become part of an ongoing story, one that merges architecture, history, and subtle spectral activity into a cohesive and immersive experience. Laura Plantation offers more than historical insight. It provides an encounter with the essence of a place shaped by generations. Figures move quietly through gardens, voices linger in halls, and objects shift slightly as though touched by unseen hands. The estate becomes a living narrative, blending past and present in a manner that is both cinematic and deeply affecting. In every room, along every pathway, and among every tree, the presence of those who lived and worked there continues to manifest subtly. In movement, sound, and sensation. Visitors leave with impressions that endure. A reminder that Laura Plantation is not only a historical site but a space where memory, history, and presence remain alive, quietly guiding the experience of all who enter. The San Francisco Plantation in Garyville stands as a stately mansion, its white columns and expansive grounds a testament to an era long past. The grandeur is undeniable, with sweeping staircases, ornate chandeliers, and high ceilings that echo the lives once lived within these walls. Yet beneath the elegance lies a weight of history, shadows of tragedy that seem to linger quietly, shaping the atmosphere in subtle and haunting ways. Guests walking through the hallways sometimes see a spectral woman drifting silently among the corridors. Her presence is fleeting, a shimmer of movement at the edge of perception. She moves with purpose, yet there is a sadness in the way she glides across the floors. Observers feel the air shift around her, a delicate disturbance that suggests someone is near, though no living person is visible. The sense of being watched is gentle yet insistent, a reminder that the past is never fully gone. Soft weeping often comes from the upstairs bedrooms. The sound is distant, almost a whisper, yet clear enough to draw attention. Only to find the rooms empty and still. The sound fades as quickly as it appears, leaving behind an echo of sorrow. It is not frightening, but it carries a profound sense of longing, a trace of lives and stories once intertwined with the mansiona's history. On the balcony, some report seeing a man in a top hat standing silently, gazing out over the grounds. He appears formal and composed, a figure from another time, watching patiently as if waiting for something that will never arrive. The sighting is brief, and when approached, the figure vanishes as though absorbed into the evening air. Yet his presence leaves a lasting impression, a quiet reminder of the mansion's connection to its own past and the people who once walked these halls. The architecture of the San Francisco Plantation adds to the haunting quality. Every corner holds the potential for movement, every shadow seems alive. Even during the daytime, when sunlight fills the rooms and gardens, the mansion maintains an atmosphere of quiet tension. The echoes of the past are woven into its very structure, lingering in stairwells, sitting rooms, and upper floors. Staff and visitors alike speak of moments when the house feels alive in ways that defy explanation, a gentle hum of presence that seems to exist just beyond the ordinary. The history of the plantation is intertwined with both beauty and hardship. Generations of families have lived and worked here, each leaving traces in the walls and furnishings. The stories of those who came before are layered into the air, manifesting in ways that are subtle yet tangible. The spectral woman, the distant weeping, and the figure on the balcony may be echoes of lives lived fully, yet interrupted, their energy preserved within the mansion's structure. Evenings bring a heightened sense of atmosphere. As the sun sets, shadows lengthen and the temperature drops slightly in certain rooms. Hallways grow quieter, and the faint sounds of movement, breathing, and sorrow seem to be magnified. Guests become acutely aware of the space around them, noticing subtle changes in light and sound that suggest the mansion is attentive, aware, and present in ways beyond the physical. The plantation's grounds contribute to its mystique. Ancient trees sway gently in the wind, their leaves whispering softly. Pathways curve through gardens that once hosted laughter and conversation. At night, the expansive lawn appears almost otherworldly, and the mansion itself seems to rise from the earth like a sentinel of memory. Visitors report glimpses of figures moving near windows, silhouettes that vanish when approached, as though the mansion keeps its secrets carefully, revealing them only in passing. For those who explore the interior, moments of quiet reflection are common. Sitting in a parlor or at the top of the grand staircase, visitors often feel a connection to the past. A chill may pass over their skin, a whisper may echo softly in the distance, and the sense of presence becomes almost tangible. These experiences are not frightening, but deeply immersive, creating a sense of continuity between the present and the mansion's layered history. The San Francisco Plantation stands as more than a building. It is a living archive of lives, memories, and emotions. Every creaking floorboard, every shifting shadow, every fleeting figure is a thread in the tapestry of its past. Patrons and staff alike become aware of the mansion as a space where history is preserved not only in records or photographs, but in subtle, almost imperceptible manifestations that touch the senses and the imagination. Every creaking floorboard, every shifting shadow, every fleeting figure is a thread in the tapestry of its past. Patrons and staff alike become aware of the mansion as a space where history is preserved not only in records or photographs, but in subtle, almost imperceptible manifestations that touch the senses and the imagination. Every creaking floorboard, every shifting shadow, every fleeting figure is a thread in the tapestry of its past. Patrons and staff alike become aware of the mansion as a space where history is preserved not only in records or photographs, but in subtle, almost imperceptible manifestations that touch the senses and the imagination. The San Francisco Plantation stands as more than a building. It is a living archive of lives, memories, and emotions. As night falls, the mansion settles into a quiet stillness. The spectral woman may continue her silent wandering. The distant weeping may echo faintly through the bedrooms. And the man in the top hat may appear for a final look over the grounds. The air is heavy with memory. And yet the space remains serene, a balance of elegance and haunting presence. Visitors leave with a profound sense of the past. An understanding that some stories linger quietly, shaping the atmosphere long after their origin. The San Francisco Plantation is a place where beauty and sorrow coexist. Its architectural grandeur, sweeping grounds, and intricate interiors are infused with the energy of those who came before. Guests experience the mansion not only through sight and sound, but through subtle interactions with the unseen. Moments that transform a visit into an encounter with history itself. The echoes of the past persist, offering a glimpse into lives that remain present, quietly watching, gently reminding all who enter that the mansion is never truly empty. Huma's house stands elegantly along the banks of the Mississippi River, its white columns and sprawling gardens reflecting a legacy of wealth and history. Visitors are drawn to its grandeur, the manicured lawns, and the stately architecture that promises a glimpse into a bygone era. Yet beneath its beauty, the estate holds a presence that whispers through the halls and lingers in shadowed corners, reminding all who enter that history is never fully at rest. Guests often speak of figures appearing at windows. Silent observers watching from inside. These shapes remain still, their forms partially obscured by curtains or the dim glow of interior lights. Some sense eyes upon them, a quiet awareness that persists even when no one else is present. The figures seem neither hostile nor friendly, simply present. Part of the house's living memory that continues to intertwine with those who walk its halls. At night, the creaking floors become a chorus of unseen footsteps. Guests report hearing movement above and below them, slow and deliberate, pacing through rooms that appear empty. The sound travels through corridors, echoing from walls and staircases, creating a rhythm that feels deliberate. It is a reminder that the house is inhabited in ways beyond the ordinary, a keeper of memories and moments long past, reverberating through the structure itself. Doors sometimes open and close on their own, moving with a gentle push or a sudden swing. Guests describe the sound of latches releasing and hinges groaning, as though unseen hands traverse the rooms. The phenomenon is subtle, often dismissed at first, but repeated occurrences suggest a presence that interacts with the world in tangible, mysterious ways. Each movement seems deliberate, purposeful, yet remains just beyond comprehension, leaving those who witness it both curious and unsettled. The estate's interior, with its high ceilings, ornate moldings, and antique furnishings, seems to hold echoes of those who once lived here. Guests notice the sensation of being followed, a presence lingering at the edge of perception. Shadows gather in corners and along the staircases, forming shapes that dissolve when closely observed. The air can turn cooler without warning, a chill that settles over the body as if the house itself exhales, reminding visitors that they are not entirely alone. Walking the grounds, the gardens reveal another layer of the estate's mystery. Oak trees draped in Spanish moss sway gently in the evening breeze, their shadows casting intricate patterns across the pathways. At times, figures have been seen moving through the gardens, silent and still, vanishing as quickly as they appear. Guests report a sense of being watched as they traverse the grounds, the atmosphere thick with history and a lingering presence that refuses to be ignored. Even the riverfront carries its own quiet stories. The water reflects moonlight and clouds in a way that feels alive, mirroring glimpses of shapes and movements not immediately explainable. Some visitors describe hearing voices carried across the river, soft and indistinct, as if distant conversations from another time reached the present. The combination of the estate's architecture, the natural surroundings, and the spectral impressions creates an immersive experience where the past and present coexist, gently overlapping in moments of fleeting awareness. Inside, bedrooms and parlors hold their own mysteries. Guests report feeling sudden pressure in the air, the sensation of being watched from the corners of rooms. Objects occasionally shift, chairs may appear moved, or personal items slightly displaced. It is subtle, often only noticed in passing, yet it reinforces the sense that the house retains the energy of previous inhabitants, a continuous presence that observes and interacts with those who stay within its walls. Huma's house does not feel threatening, yet it is impossible to ignore the subtle signs of its restless spirits. The activity is measured, deliberate, an intimate connection between the living and the echoes of the past. Guests often describe a mixture of awe and unease, drawn to the estate's beauty while sensing the silent watch of its unseen occupants. The experience is both historical and spectral, a journey through architecture, memory, and lingering energy that makes each visit unforgettable. The estate's history, combined with these strange occurrences, creates a narrative that is both rich and haunting. Figures at windows, footsteps on creaking floors, and doors opening without explanation are not mere coincidences, but threads in the tapestry of House's living story. Visitors leave with a sense of having witnessed something rare, a connection to a place where the past does not remain buried but continues to interact with the present in subtle, mysterious ways. Walking through the halls, exploring the gardens, or pausing by the river, one can feel the pulse of the estate. It is a rhythm that blends history, memory, and presence, quietly reminding all who enter that House is more than a home. It is a place where time lingers, and spirits remain. Every corner holds a story, every shadow a whisper, and every step invites contemplation of the lives that once filled these rooms. House stands as a testament to history and memory, a space where the beauty of architecture and the presence of the unseen coexist. The figures at windows, the sounds of footsteps, and the subtle movements of objects create an immersive experience, connecting visitors to both the past and the spectral whispers that inhabit the estate. It is a place where history is felt as much as it is seen, where every room carries a story, and where the luxurious grounds hide mysteries that continue to captivate and intrigue, long after the sun has set. Felicity Plantation rises above the surrounding swamps, its white columns standing in contrast to the dark waters and moss-draped trees. The long driveway winds through thick cypress, their reflections shimmering in the swamp below. During the day, the estate appears serene, a relic of another era, but as twilight falls, the atmosphere shifts. The air grows heavier, the sounds of the swamp amplify, and a sense of quiet anticipation fills the grounds. Visitors walking the gardens report whispers that drift through the air. The voices are soft and fleeting, carried on the gentle breeze, as if recalling conversations long past. Sometimes the whispers seem to come from the flower beds or along the edges of the veranda. Guests pause to listen, searching for a source, but find only silence and the subtle rustle of leaves. Footsteps echo across the wooden porch, light and deliberate. The boards creak beneath weight that is not visible, giving the sensation of someone pacing thoughtfully near the entrance. At times, the sound stops abruptly, leaving a hush that amplifies the presence of the unseen. Visitors feel the air shift around them, the cool touch of wind carrying with it a hint of history that lingers just beyond perception. Near the river that borders the property, a shadowy figure has been glimpsed in the mist. Standing motionless, it seems to watch the water as though guarding a memory. When approached, the figure vanishes, leaving only the swirling fog and the faint smell of damp earth. The river itself reflects the moonlight, casting a silver glow across the landscape. And the interplay of light and shadow adds to the sense that the plantation is a living witness to events long gone. The architecture of Felicity Plantation enhances the spectral presence. High ceilings, sweeping staircases, and wide hallways create spaces where sound carries and shadows linger. Doors may open slightly without cause, and the polished floors sometimes reflect movements that are not the visitor's own. Guests report an almost magnetic pull toward certain rooms, as if the house itself is inviting them to witness what remains unseen. The gardens are equally alive with memory. The rustle of leaves in the night wind can sound like footsteps following from behind. And the scent of damp soil mingles with the fragrance of lingering blooms. Guests often speak of the feeling of being accompanied, a presence walking beside them through the quiet paths. Inside the plantation, the subtle signs of the past persist. Soft creaks in the floorboards, faint drafts along the hallways, and the occasional clatter of unseen objects. Every room carries the energy of lives lived, of moments shared and memories preserved within the walls. The swamps surrounding Felicity Plantation add to the eerie quality of the estate. Mist rises from the water at dusk, curling through the trees and across the gardens. The sounds of frogs, insects, and distant birds blend with the faint whispers and footsteps inside the house, creating a soundscape that is both natural and otherworldly. Visitors describe the experience as walking through a living painting, one where time is layered and the past is always present. Even during the day, attentive guests notice subtleties that hint at the Plantation's spectral activity. Chairs may shift slightly, doors may creak open without wind. And the reflection of light on polished surfaces sometimes reveals shapes that disappear when looked at directly. The estate invites observation and reflection, offering moments where the ordinary world and the memories of the past intersect in tangible ways. At night, the atmosphere reaches its peak. The fog thickens near the river, the shadows lengthen along the veranda. And the whispers become more distinct, threading through the gardens and the halls. The sensation of unseen eyes watching or gentle touches passing by is intensified. Guests leave with a profound awareness of the presence that permeates the plantation, an experience that combines history, memory, and quiet mystery. Felicity Plantation stands as a testament to the lives that shaped it, both visible and invisible. Its grand architecture, ancient gardens, and surrounding swamps preserve an atmosphere where the past is not merely remembered, but felt. Visitors are invited to walk its halls, follow its pathways, and witness the subtle interactions of the unseen. Every shadow, whisper, and reflection reminds those who enter that Felicity Plantation is more than a historic estate, it is a living chronicle of memory, history, and enduring presence, quietly observing all who come to wander its grounds. Evergreen Plantation stretches across the Louisiana landscape, its grand oak trees draped with Spanish moss, creating a scene both beautiful and haunting. The grounds are meticulously maintained, with gardens and pathways that lead visitors through the history of a place shaped by wealth, labor, and countless stories. Beneath the beauty lies a presence that lingers, an energy that can be felt as the sun dips below the horizon. After sunset, ghostly figures sometimes wander the grounds. They move slowly, almost deliberately, among the trees and gardens. Some seem dressed in attire from long ago, carrying themselves with a quiet dignity. Visitors walking the paths in the evening may notice shadows shifting, as if the past itself is moving alongside them, observing, and participating in the ongoing life of the plantation. Inside the mansion, a subtle presence can be felt in the bedrooms and halls. Guests have reported feeling someone standing near their bed at night. A presence that is never threatening but undeniably tangible. These sensations are fleeting yet memorable, leaving an impression of quiet attention. As if the house itself is aware of each occupant. The atmosphere is heavy with history, layered with the echoes of countless nights and lives once lived within these walls. The halls sometimes carry faint music from long-ago gatherings. Notes of piano or soft strings drift through corridors, filling the air with a sound that is ethereal and distant. The music appears without source, lingering in the atmosphere as if memories of past celebrations are being relived in quiet echoes. Guests pause, listening closely, sensing the continuity of time, where the past intersects with the present in subtle and mesmerizing ways. The architecture and design of Evergreen Plantation enhance its spectral presence. Sunlight filters through tall windows during the day, while at night lanterns and lamps cast soft glows that shift across rooms, elongating shadows and heightening awareness of the unseen. Sounds are an important part of the experience. The rustle of curtains, and distant footsteps echoing in empty rooms, create a sense of movement and life. And the lives that have passed through the plantation. Of the house itself carrying memory. The gardens and outdoor spaces hold their own energy. Paths lined with ancient oaks and flowering plants feel alive with history. Figures sometimes appear among the foliage, walking silently along the gravel paths, tending to gardens that have not seen human care for decades. The wind through the trees carries faint murmurs, and shadows stretch long in the fading light, creating a sense of immersion where visitors are both observers and participants in the story of the estate. Light and shadow play across the mansion and grounds, heightening awareness of space and presence. During sunset, the long shadows of the oak trees stretch across lawns, creating patterns that seem to move with the fading light. Inside, lamps and candles cast pools of illumination that reveal and conceal in equal measure. These visual dynamics contribute to the cinematic feeling of the plantation, where every glance and movement seems imbued with history and subtle mystery. Objects occasionally shift in ways that are difficult to explain. Chairs may tilt slightly, doors close on their own, and small items move subtly across surfaces. These moments are brief and understated, yet they enhance the impression that the estate is alive with memory and attention. Guests become attuned to the details of their surroundings, sensing a connection to the past that is both tangible and elusive. Even in the quietest corners, the plantation carries a presence. Bedrooms, hallways, and porches each have their own energy, where shadows move and faint sounds appear without cause. The sensation is rarely threatening, more a quiet acknowledgement that the lives of past occupants continue to leave traces within the architecture and landscape. Visitors feel a sense of reverence, understanding that they are in a place where history is not only preserved but still quietly active. The combination of natural beauty and subtle spectral phenomena makes Evergreen Plantation unique. Guests experience the grounds and mansion in a way that engages all senses, from the visual impact of the gardens and architecture to the auditory cues of soft music and shifting objects. The plantation becomes a living story, where past and present coexist in harmony, creating an immersive and unforgettable visit. Walking the grounds at night, visitors may notice subtle movements along pathways or glimpses of figures through windows. The interplay of shadow, light, and sound shapes the perception of space, making the plantation feel alive in a way that ordinary structures rarely do. Every step encourages awareness, as though the land itself remembers and acknowledges each person who walks its paths. Inside, the mansiona's rooms tell layered stories. Each corridor, staircase, and chamber carries echoes of previous lives, with faint sounds, gentle drafts, and occasional movements enhancing the sense of ongoing presence. Guests often feel as though they are not alone, yet the atmosphere is calm and contemplative, allowing for a deep engagement with the history and energy of the place. Evergreen Plantation is a space where history, architecture, and subtle phenomena converge. Ghostly figures, faint music, and gentle shifts of objects all contribute to an environment that is immersive and cinematic. Visitors leave with impressions that linger, a sense of having witnessed a space where the past is continuously present and where the beauty of the landscape and mansion is enhanced by the quiet acknowledgement of what has come before. The estate offers an experience that is both serene and mysterious. Figures walk among the gardens, shadows shift along the halls, and distant music carries through the night. Guests become part of a narrative that spans centuries, sensing layers of life and memory embedded in every corner. Evergreen Plantation remains a place where beauty and history meet the unseen, creating a hauntingly captivating experience that resonates long after departure. The Whitney Plantation in Wallace stands as a solemn reminder of a painful past. Its weathered buildings and expansive grounds preserve the memory of lives lived under oppression. And the weight of history is palpable from the moment visitors step onto the property. The air feels heavy, as though every gust of wind carries echoes of the past. The rows of trees, the worn paths, and the old structures all seem to hold stories that cannot be easily forgotten. At night, visitors report hearing cries drifting across the grounds. The sound is distant at first, faint and almost indistinct, yet it grows clearer as one listens. The calls are sorrowful, a haunting resonance that speaks of grief and loss. These echoes do not frighten in a violent way, but they demand attention, reminding all who hear them of the suffering that took place here and the lives that were bound to this land. Shadows move silently between the trees, flickering along the edges of vision. They are elusive, often vanishing when approached, yet their presence is unmistakable. Guests walking along the paths notice the subtle shifts in darkness, the sense of someone or something observing them from between the trunks. These figures carry no malice, but the feeling they leave is profound, a quiet awareness that the history of the plantation is not only preserved in stone and wood, but in the energy that lingers in the air. In the old buildings, some visitors see figures appearing in windows or doorways. They are fleeting glimpses, almost ephemeral, yet vivid enough to capture the attention. They are silhouettes that pause for a moment before fading, leaving empty frames and the quiet hum of the structures behind them. These brief encounters create an intimate connection to the past, a reminder that those who lived here still imprint themselves upon the spaces they once occupied. The architecture of the Whitney Plantation contributes to the atmosphere. Long hallways, creaking floors, and shuttered windows provide a stage for these subtle manifestations. The light filters through broken panes, casting elongated shadows across the interiors, while the open grounds allow for movement among trees and walkways. Every corner seems to carry potential for a story, every empty room and darkened corridor holds the memory of those who came before. Visitors often comment on the emotional weight of the place. The combination of visual reminders, historic artifacts, and fleeting supernatural impressions creates an experience that engages both the mind and the senses. The sounds of distant voices, the shifting shadows, and the occasional apparition make the plantation feel alive with memory. It is a quiet but persistent presence, a living testament to the history it preserves. The gardens and surrounding grounds offer a contrasting beauty that makes the lingering energy all the more poignant. Tall trees sway gently, and the earth beneath is worn smooth by decades of footsteps. Paths curve through open fields and along the edges of the forested areas, and in the late hours of the day, the fading light creates long shadows that seem to move independently. Visitors notice figures glimpsed among the trees or fleeting forms in the distance, adding to the atmosphere of remembrance and reflection. Even during the day, the plantation exerts a subtle, persistent influence. Guests walking through the property feel the history in the air, the tension of stories long untold. The whispers of the past are not always audible, but they are sensed in the shifting shadows, the sudden chill in certain rooms, or the fleeting impression that someone is present nearby. These experiences are not threatening, but they evoke a deep contemplation of the lives and struggles that unfolded here. The combination of history and lingering presence creates a unique environment. Each visitor's experience is shaped by both the physical sight and the subtle energies that remain. The cries in the night, the shadows among the trees, and the figures in windows all serve as reminders that the Whitney Plantation is more than a collection of buildings. It is a space where memory and presence coexist, allowing the past to speak in quiet, persistent ways. The Plantation's legacy is carried not only in historical documentation, but in the immersive experience it offers. Walking through the grounds, listening to the distant echoes, and observing the subtle movements within the structures. The energy of those who lived and suffered on the plantation remains. A silent witness to history that is felt as much as it is seen. As night settles over the Whitney Plantation, the shadows grow longer and the sounds of the past seem closer. Figures move quietly, whispers echo softly, and the cries of history carry across the grounds. The place stands as a memorial, a living repository of stories that cannot be erased. Visitors leave with a profound sense of connection to what occurred here. A recognition that the land holds both beauty and sorrow, and that the presence of the past remains ever near. Visitors leave with a profound sense of connection to what occurred here. A recognition that the land holds both beauty and sorrow, and that the presence of the past remains ever near. A sense of connection to what occurred here. A recognition that the land holds both beauty and sorrow, and that the presence of the past remains ever near. A profound sense of connection to what occurred here. A recognition that the land holds both beauty and sorrow, and that the presence of the past remains ever near. The Whitney Plantation is a place where remembrance and subtle manifestation converge. Its historic buildings, expansive grounds, and lingering spirits offer an experience that is both educational and deeply moving. Every step along the pathways, every glance through a window, and every sound in the night contributes to a narrative that is alive, a story told not only through text and artifacts but through the quiet, persistent presence of those who came before. It is a place where memory lives on, palpable in the shadows, the air, and the spaces that continue to hold the echoes of the past. Destrehan Plantation rises along the banks of the Mississippi River. Its white columns and expansive grounds a testament to centuries of history. Once a thriving plantation, it carries the weight of both wealth and the sorrow of those who suffered within its walls. The atmosphere is heavy with echoes of the past, where stories of betrayal, punishment, and tragedy linger quietly, leaving an indelible mark on the estate. Visitors often notice a presence along the riverbank, where ghostly figures appear and vanish like mist. Shadows move at the edge of vision, following the curves of the shoreline, their forms shifting with the fading light. Some describe seeing figures walking slowly along the pathways, their steps soundless but deliberate, as if retracing events long past. The river itself reflects more than just sunlight, capturing the haunting memory of lives intertwined with the land. Inside the plantation house, empty hallways hold a tension that cannot be explained. Guests hear footsteps echoing where no one walks, soft and measured, pacing through rooms once filled with life. The sound seems to come from above and below, weaving through corridors, stairs, and parlors, reminding visitors that the house is not entirely vacant. Each step resonates with history, carrying whispers of conversations, commands, and movements from decades ago. Rooms that once hosted gatherings and celebrations now hold sudden chills. Cold spots appear without warning, settling over visitors as they move through the spaces. The air feels heavier in certain corners, as if absorbing the memories of those who experienced fear, joy, or sorrow there. These shifts in temperature are subtle but unmistakable, a tangible connection to a past that refuses to remain silent. Some guests report the sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness at the periphery of perception. Shadows flicker along walls, moving independently of any light source, gathering and dispersing as if interacting with the living. The presence is neither hostile nor overtly welcoming, simply persistent, a lingering energy tied to the events that unfolded on the plantation grounds. It is a reminder that history carries its own weight, manifesting in ways that cannot always be seen directly. The gardens and grounds of Destrehan Plantation offer another layer of the haunting. Among these trees, some have witnessed figures moving silently, pausing at paths or disappearing behind foliage. The Rivera's Edge, in particular, is a place of stories and sorrow, where figures appear as if drawn by some unseen force, tethered to the land and the events that occurred centuries ago. Visitors exploring the main house notice the subtleties of its presence. Doors may open slowly, seemingly on their own, or close with a gentle push. Items are sometimes found in different positions, and the sense of movement within the house is difficult to attribute to natural causes. These occurrences are never violent, yet they create a persistent sense that the house is alive with memory, observing and interacting with those who enter its spaces. The Plantation's history of execution and betrayal amplifies the sense of unease. The stories of lives lost, punishments carried out, and decisions made in moments of fear and anger linger invisibly, woven into the architecture and grounds. It is an atmosphere that invites reflection as much as it evokes curiosity. Even outside the house, the plantation's aura remains palpable. Sounds that resemble distant voices or faint movement seem to drift through the air, carried by the wind or perhaps by something more intangible. The combination of natural beauty, historical significance, and lingering presence creates an experience both immersive and haunting, drawing visitors into a world where the past is always near. Destrehan Plantation is a place where history and the supernatural intersect. The riverbank, the echoing hallways, the sudden cold spots, and the ghostly figures all form a tapestry of memory and presence. Visitors leave with the sense that the estate is more than a collection of buildings and gardens. It is a repository of lives, stories, and energies that continue to shape the experience of those who walk its grounds. Every step, every glance down a shadowed hallway, every pause along the river reveals fragments of the past. The plantation stands as a testament to both human achievement and human suffering, a space where beauty and sorrow coexist. The ghosts of Destrehan Plantation do not demand attention, but they are always present, offering a quiet reminder of the weight of history, the resonance of memory, and the invisible threads that tie the past to the present. The experience of visiting Destrehan Plantation is immersive, reflective, and haunting. From the Rivera's edge to the interior halls. From the gardens to the ancient trees. Each element holds stories waiting to be felt. Footsteps, cold spots, shadowy forms, and subtle movements are the language of the unseen, speaking across time to those willing to observe. Speaking across time to those willing to observe. It is a narrative that blends history, memory, and the spectral, leaving an unforgettable impression on every visitor who walks among its grounds. Destrehan Plantation is not merely a site of the past. It is a living chronicle of its own history, where every corner carries memory. Every shadow hints at stories untold. And every step invites the present to encounter the lingering echoes of those who came before. Melrose Plantation stands as a striking example of Creole architecture, its white columns and sprawling verandas framed by ancient oak trees draped in Spanish moss. The sunlight illuminates the ornate woodwork and intricate iron railings, casting shadows that dance across the ground. By day, the plantation appears serene and inviting, a window into the past. Yet as dusk falls, the atmosphere shifts. The house, the gardens, and the surrounding land seem to hold their breath, and a subtle sense of presence settles over the estate. Inside, the rooms retain the elegance of a bygone era. Figures dressed in period attire have been glimpsed gliding across floors, moving with a grace that defies ordinary explanation. Guests walking the halls may catch a shadow at the edge of their vision, only to find it gone moments later. The subtle movement, the echo of soft footsteps on polished wood, and the occasional shifting of objects all contribute to an awareness that the plantation is more than its physical structure. Whispers drift through the rooms, soft and elusive. They seem to come from no discernible source, threading through the hallways and settling around those who pause to listen. Some guests describe hearing their names called gently, while others notice the faint murmur of conversation from empty parlors. The effect is not threatening but deeply mysterious, inviting reflection on the lives and stories embedded within the walls. Visitors often speak of a sensation that cannot be easily explained. The brush of a hand along an arm, a cool touch across the shoulder, or the feeling of presence beside them creates a connection to something unseen. These fleeting interactions leave impressions that linger, a reminder that the estate is a repository of memory and energy. The sense of history is tangible here, experienced through sight, sound, and subtle touch. The gardens and grounds of Melrose Plantation add to its haunting beauty. Pathways lined with moss-covered oaks wind past fountains and flower beds, leading to quiet corners where the air feels denser, as if holding echoes of past lives. The river nearby reflects the waning light, shimmering with a soft glow, enhances the sense of otherworldliness. Figures are sometimes seen among the trees, moving slowly and deliberately, vanishing when approached, leaving only the impression of motion and life. The architectural design amplifies the sense of presence. Tall ceilings and expansive rooms allow sound to carry, creating moments where a creak in the floor or a rustle of curtains can seem amplified, yet intimate. Windows and mirrors reflect movement that is not always the visitor's own, adding layers of perception that challenge the eye. The Plantation's design encourages observation, inviting guests to explore not just the space, but the history and memory embedded within it. Even routine sounds acquire meaning in the quiet of night. The soft scraping of a chair, the faint shifting of a curtain, or the distant rustle of leaves outside may trigger the sense that someone else is moving nearby. These subtle cues create an atmosphere of anticipation, blending the ordinary with the extraordinary. Guests become aware of the delicate boundary between what is visible and what lingers unseen. Inside the main house, the interplay of light and shadow intensifies the experience. Moonlight filtering through the windows creates patterns on the floors, walls, and ceilings, occasionally revealing shapes that seem to move independently. The subtle changes in illumination, combined with the quiet sounds of the house, make every room feel alive, connecting the present to the Plantation's past. Each step, each glance, becomes part of a narrative that spans generations, connecting the present to the Plantation's past. The air around Melrose Plantation carries a weight that is both historical and spectral. Breezes through the verandas bring the scent of the river and gardens, mingling with the faint aroma of wood and aged furnishings. The environment itself seems to preserve memory, making the act of walking the grounds an immersive journey through time. Visitors often describe a feeling of being accompanied, a sense that the lives of the people who once walked these halls are still present in subtle ways. At night, the plantation fully reveals its quiet mysteries. Shadows move with an unearthly grace. Whispers continue to thread through rooms, and the sensation of unseen hands lingers on the skin. The experience is never aggressive, yet profoundly affecting. Guests leave with a heightened awareness of history, memory, and the unseen. The estate encourages reflection on the lives that shaped it, and on the subtle, lingering presence of those who may never have truly left. Melrose Plantation exists as a bridge between eras. Its Creole architecture, landscaped gardens, and richly adorned interiors are tangible expressions of the past. Yet it is the intangible, the shadows, whispers, and fleeting touches, that define the estate's haunting essence. Visitors are drawn into a world where the past and present coexist, where history is not just observed, but felt. Each visit becomes a journey into memory, into the quiet presence that continues to glide through the rooms, and into the enduring mystery of Melrose Plantation. Shadows on the Teche rises along the banks of the Bayou Teche, its white columns reflecting the fading light of a Louisiana sunset. The mansion's gardens are lush, filled with centuries-old oaks, magnolias, and azaleas that frame the paths with their heavy foliage. Visitors often find the grounds enchanting, yet there is a presence that lingers, a subtle energy that hints at stories long past. As twilight falls, figures sometimes appear in the gardens. They move quietly, almost gliding along the paths, pausing near the flower beds or the edge of the water. Their forms are faint, glimpsed in the corners of the eye, disappearing when directly observed. The atmosphere is thick with history, as though the lives once lived here continue to echo among the trees and winding walkways. Soft voices can carry across the porch, drifting into the night air. They are barely audible, fragments of conversations from years gone by, whispers that float through the warm Louisiana evening. The sound is never threatening, but it is unmistakably present, a reminder that the mansion holds the past close. Inside the house, subtle phenomena are equally compelling. Doors open by themselves in the dead of night, moving slowly or swinging with a suddenness that startles. Floorboards creak in empty corridors, and faint drafts drift through rooms that are otherwise still. These moments are fleeting yet persistent, creating an impression that the house is alive with observation, attentive to the presence of those who walk its halls. The mansion itself is a masterpiece of Creole architecture. High ceilings, ornate moldings, and polished floors create a sense of grandeur that is both inviting and imposing. Light plays across the walls through tall windows, casting long shadows that shift with the passing sun. At night, lamps and candles throw a gentle glow, elongating corners and hallways, creating spaces where perception and imagination blend seamlessly. The gardens extend the mansiona's spectral energy. Pathways lined with oak trees and flowering shrubs seem to breathe with the history they contain. Figures sometimes appear among the foliage, moving with an elegance that is almost ceremonial. The wind carries the scent of flowers and the faint hum of voices, heightening the sense of immersion as visitors walk through the twilight, aware that the land itself retains memories of the people who lived and worked here. Sounds play a critical role in the mansiona's presence. The faint shuffle of feet across floors, the distant murmur of voices, and the occasional creak of a door combine to form an auditory landscape. Every sound, every shift of shadow, becomes part of a narrative that stretches across time, connecting the mansion to its inhabitants past and present. Guests notice these details, sensing the layers of history that coexist with the present. Every sound, every shift of shadow, becomes part of a narrative that stretches across time, connecting the mansion to its inhabitants past and present. Even the smallest objects seem to carry energy. Candlesticks tilt slightly, glasses move with imperceptible pressure, and books sometimes shift on shelves. These occurrences are subtle, never disruptive, yet they reinforce the sense that the mansion holds a watchful presence. Visitors become attuned to the details of their surroundings, sensing an awareness that extends beyond what is immediately visible. Twilight is a particularly potent time at Shadows on the Teche. The last rays of sun filter through the gardens, casting a golden glow that contrasts with the deepening shadows of the house. The interplay of light and dark creates a cinematic environment where every movement, every whisper of wind, feels loaded with significance. Figures may appear at the edge of vision, fleeting yet unmistakable, moving with purpose yet always just beyond full understanding. Inside, the mansion's rooms tell layered stories. Each hallway, parlor, and bedroom carries the echoes of past lives. Faint music from bygone gatherings drifts through the air. The sounds are often delicate, almost imperceptible, but they add depth to the experience, allowing guests to feel connected to the lives that unfolded within these walls. Visitors often remark on the sensation of being observed. It is never intrusive, more a quiet acknowledgement that the mansion remembers. Guests feel the weight of history in each room and along every corridor, aware that the past continues to coexist with the present in subtle, compelling ways. This awareness deepens the experience of exploring Shadows on the Teche, creating a sense of intimacy with the history of the site. The gardens and outdoor spaces enhance this connection. Ancient oaks and flowering plants frame the property, creating corridors of greenery that seem alive with memory. Figures move among the flora, visible only briefly, as if performing tasks from decades ago. The wind rustles the leaves, carrying the faintest hints of voices and footsteps, further intertwining nature and history in a seamless, immersive experience. Light and shadow are constant companions. The mansiona's architecture casts intricate patterns across rooms, while lanterns and candles at night elongate shadows and deepen corners. Visitors notice the subtle shifts in illumination, the way shadows seem to move independently, creating a sense that the space is breathing, watching, and waiting. Every glance becomes an act of discovery, revealing layers of perception shaped by history and presence. Shadows on the Teche is a place where the beauty of architecture and landscape meets the weight of memory. Figures drift through gardens and halls, doors move of their own accord, and soft voices fill the air. Guests experience the mansion as a living story, where past and present converge, creating a hauntingly serene atmosphere that is both mysterious and captivating. Every visit leaves a lasting impression. Figures glimpsed in twilight. Whispers carried on the wind. And doors that move without touch. All contribute to an experience that is as atmospheric and engaging as it is beautiful. Shadows on the Teche stands as a testament to the lives and stories it has held for generations. Offering an encounter with history that is as atmospheric and engaging as it is beautiful. Walking the grounds or exploring the mansion, guests become part of this ongoing story. Every footstep and glance is connected to the layers of memory embedded in the house and gardens. Shadows on the Teche is more than a historic site, it is a living narrative, a place where the past continues to breathe, move, and speak in quiet, compelling ways that linger long after departure. Felicity's Lost Hall in St. Francisville stands abandoned, a silent witness to a past long forgotten. The wing of the plantation has been left untouched for decades, yet it seems far from empty. Shadows cling to the corners of the rooms, moving as if alive, and the air carries a chill that does not belong to the season. Visitors stepping inside feel an immediate shift, as if the atmosphere itself is thick with memory. Soft lights flicker in the hallways without source, casting fleeting glows on peeling wallpaper and dust-covered floors. These illuminations are subtle, appearing at the edge of vision, vanishing when approached. They create a disorienting effect, a sense that the building is alive in its own way, responding to those who walk its corridors. Shadowy figures often appear near the tall windows. Guests describe glimpses of shapes standing silently, watching, their forms indistinct yet undeniably present. They vanish when focused upon, leaving only the lingering sensation of being observed. The presence is not aggressive, but it is insistently aware, a reminder that the hall retains echoes of its former occupants. Occasionally, the laughter of children drifts through the hall. It is soft, playful, and sudden, cutting through the quiet of the empty wing. The sound is brief and disappears as quickly as it arrives, leaving only silence behind. Those who hear it often pause, looking for the source, sensing that something unseen has moved among them. As visitors progress through the hallways, the temperature drops noticeably. The air becomes icy, biting at exposed skin, seeping into the bones. It is an unnatural cold, one that cannot be explained by drafts or broken windows. The chill heightens the senses, making every creak of the floorboards and every shift of air more pronounced. The architecture of Felicity's Lost Hall adds to its haunting nature. High ceilings, long corridors, and ornate yet decaying moldings create a space where sound and light behave unpredictably. Echoes stretch unnaturally, footsteps seem to follow even when no one else is present, and shadows linger longer than they should. The hall itself seems to participate in the unfolding of the unseen, a silent accomplice to the lingering presences. Furniture, once elegant, is draped in sheets or left to decay. Chairs tilt at odd angles, and tables hold dust that has settled for decades. Some visitors report brief touches, a pressure on the shoulder or a brush of cold air against the hand, fleeting interactions that leave an impression long after leaving the hall. Windows are framed with tattered curtains that sway gently, though no breeze moves the air. Outside, the plantation grounds stretch into darkness, the trees casting long shadows into the hall. The combination of interior decay and exterior darkness blurs the boundary between the hall and the world beyond, enhancing the sense of isolation and heightening awareness of unseen movements. Sounds carry strangely within Felicity's Lost Hall. A whisper in one room may be heard clearly in another, while footsteps echo long after a person has passed. Doors creak and sometimes move slowly as if guided by invisible hands. The subtle, almost imperceptible activity builds a persistent tension, keeping visitors alert to every shift in the hall's atmosphere. Despite the eerie phenomena, the hall does not feel malevolent. There is a quiet sadness present, a lingering sense of those who lived, played, and perhaps suffered within these walls. The lights, the laughter, and the figures all tell a story of memory retained rather than harm intended. Visitors often leave with a profound respect for the history embedded in the structure, an understanding that the hall is a vessel for lives and stories that cannot be erased. Each visit to Felicitia's Lost Hall is unique. The lights may appear in different rooms. The shadows may linger in new corners. And the sounds may come from directions previously unnoticed. This unpredictability reinforces the sense that the hall is alive with memory, responding in subtle ways to those who enter, creating an atmosphere of perpetual mystery. This is Felicitia's Lost Hall. The hall's combination of visual and auditory phenomena, temperature shifts, and the presence of shadows gives it a distinctive character. It is not a place of fear, but a place of deep awareness, where the past is tangible, and the present is acutely felt. Every step along the creaking floors, every glance toward the windows, and every fleeting sound contributes to an immersive experience that lingers long after leaving the building. And the presence of shadows gives it a distinctive character. But a place of deep awareness, where the past is tangible, and the present is acutely felt. Every step along the creaking floors, every glance toward the windows, and every fleeting sound contributes to an immersive experience that lingers long after leaving the building. And the presence of shadows gives it a distinctive character. It is not a place of fear, but a place of deep awareness, where the past is tangible, and the present is acutely felt. Every step along the creaking floors, every glance toward the windows, and every fleeting sound contributes to an immersive experience that lingers long after leaving the building. And the presence of shadows gives it a distinctive character. As night falls over Felicity's Lost Hall, the atmosphere becomes even more pronounced. The lights glow softly, the shadows deepen, and the laughter of unseen children seems to drift further along the corridors. Those who walk its paths encounter not just a structure, but a space where time and presence converge, where history and the unseen intertwine. Felicity's Lost Hall remains a testament to memory, a place where echoes of the past continue to move through walls, across floors, and around the corners of rooms. It is a space of reflection and awareness, where visitors sense the lingering presence of those who once inhabited it. The combination of visual phenomena, subtle sounds, and the quiet persistence of shadows creates an environment both mysterious and captivating. An experience that is as immersive as it is unforgettable. The Hala's lingering energy serves as a reminder that history is not only recorded in books or photographs, but in the spaces where people lived, laughed, and left their mark. Felicitia's Lost Hall preserves these echoes, allowing visitors to witness a story told not through words alone, but through the atmosphere, the subtle movements, and the unseen presences that remain. It is a place where the past never fully leaves, and where every visitor becomes part of the ongoing story of memory and presence. The gardens of Humus House stretch across acres of manicured lawns, fragrant blooms, and shaded walkways. During the day, sunlight glimmers off the fountains, and the air is filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the scent of magnolia and jasmine. Yet as evening descends, a different presence emerges, subtle and persistent, leaving some visitors with an unmistakable sense of the unseen. Walking along the gravel paths, guests have reported fleeting silhouettes among the fountains. Shadows appear for a moment, shifting and dissolving before they can be fully observed. It is as if the gardens themselves are alive with memory, holding echoes of those who once wandered these grounds in laughter and conversation, now lingering as more than just recollections. The stone pathways carry an unusual resonance at night. Footsteps can be heard echoing softly, yet when one turns to look, no one is there. The sounds seem to move with the wind, weaving through the oaks and magnolias, following the curves of the garden beds, and fading only to reappear moments later. It is an invisible rhythm, a heartbeat of the estate, that speaks of both history and lingering presence. Among the oaks, some have claimed to see a ghostly couple dancing silently. They glide across the grass with grace, moving as if in a timeless waltz, untouched by the present. Their movements are calm and serene, yet there is an undeniable poignancy, as though they are bound to this moment forever. Visitors feel a mixture of awe and unease, captivated by the delicate interaction of shadow and light, of presence and absence. The fountains themselves hold a quiet, reflective energy. Water glimmers under the moon, and in that shimmer, figures can sometimes be glimpsed, appearing and vanishing as if they are part of the spray. These apparitions are rarely intrusive, they do not frighten but rather invite reflection. It is a gentle, haunting beauty, a reminder that the gardens have long been a place of both life and lingering memory. Even the air seems to carry a subtle message. A cool breeze may brush against the neck or stir the petals of a flower unexpectedly. The scent of the gardens intensifies in these moments, mingling with an almost imperceptible sense of another presence. Many visitors describe the experience as being watched, not in threat, but in quiet observation, a silent companionship with the spirits of the past. The layout of the gardens enhances this sensation. Curving pathways and hidden alcoves provide both intimacy and mystery. Guests feel drawn into certain areas, or perhaps by the subtle guidance of unseen hands. Each turn holds the potential for discovery, whether a fleeting figure behind a tree or the softest echo of steps that have long since passed. Some report seeing figures at the edge of the flower beds, their outlines indistinct, their movements slow and deliberate. It is as if the gardens themselves are inhabited by the memories of countless gatherings, dances, and conversations, preserved in shadow and light, waiting for those willing to notice. The experience extends beyond sight and sound. Time itself seems to shift in the gardens at night. Moments stretch and contract, and the boundary between past and present blurs. A visitor walking alone may suddenly feel the presence of another nearby, a whisper of movement or a sudden chill, leaving them questioning what is real and what is memory. Among the towering oaks and ornate fountains, there is a sense of continuity. The spirits that linger do not disrupt, but they do not fade. They inhabit the spaces where life and history intersect, a living memory embedded in the very soil and stone of the gardens. Observing them, guests gain a sense of connection to centuries past, a subtle reminder of the many lives and stories that have passed through this place. The Humus House Gardens are a place of quiet reflection and haunting beauty. Each path, fountain, and tree seems to hold a story, waiting for the attentive eye or the perceptive ear. Shadows move, footsteps echo, and the ghostly couple dances beneath the oaks, reminding visitors that the estate is not only a celebration of nature and design but also a sanctuary for memory and lingering presence. Walking through these gardens, one cannot help but feel the presence of the past. It is a soft, persistent awareness, an invisible companion that mirrors the grace and elegance of the surroundings. The interplay of light, shadow, and subtle movement creates an atmosphere both serene and mysterious, inviting visitors to witness the convergence of history, memory, and the spectral world. Humus House Gardens are more than just cultivated beauty. They are a space where the living and the departed meet in subtle ways, where every footstep might be accompanied by another, unseen but unmistakably there. The gardens whisper their stories, dance with shadows, and leave a lasting impression on all who walk their paths. A haunting reminder of the delicate balance between the past and the present. The experience is immersive and unforgettable. From the fountains to the oak groves, from the quiet pathways to the hidden alcoves, the gardens of Humus House speak to something beyond the ordinary. Shadows, whispers, and fleeting figures remind visitors that some presences endure, and that the beauty of this estate is intertwined with the mysteries it has carried for generations. Every corner offers a glimpse of something unseen. A narrative of lives once lived, of joys celebrated, and of moments suspended in time. leaving an impression that lingers long after the final step has been taken along the winding paths. Magnolia Plantation stands with stately elegance, its grand columns and sprawling grounds reflecting centuries of history. During the day, sunlight illuminates the gardens and the river that winds past the estate, casting a peaceful glow over the landscape. Yet as evening falls, the plantation transforms. Shadows lengthen along the porches, and the air grows heavy with a quiet tension that seems to seep from the walls themselves. The interior of the house preserves the elegance of the past. Rich woodwork, ornate furniture, and grand chandeliers reflect the lives of those who once inhabited the space. Yet these halls are not entirely empty. Figures may catch a glimpse of someone gliding past a doorway or crossing a long hallway, only to find no one there when they follow. Guests may catch a glimpse of someone gliding past a doorway or crossing a long hallway, only to find no one there when they follow. Only to find no one there when they follow. Soft whispers fill the air, delicate and elusive. The whispers drift through the parlor, weaving a tapestry of sound that seems to come from every direction. Some visitors feel these whispers brush against their ears, faint words that are never fully understood, yet carry a weight of emotion. The experience is not threatening, but profoundly mysterious, drawing attention to the plantation's lingering presence and the echoes of its history. Shadows move along the walls, shifting in ways that the mind struggles to explain. In the dining room, chairs sometimes slide across the polished floors, and fleeting forms cross the room, vanishing as if absorbed into the atmosphere. Guests walking through the hallways may feel a sudden chill, a subtle brush of air against the skin that is accompanied by the sensation of another presence. These moments create a connection to something beyond the physical, a whisper of the lives and stories that continue to inhabit the space. The gardens surrounding Magnolia Plantation enhance the haunting experience, while hinting at hidden movements, disappearing when approached. Architecture plays a crucial role in the Plantation's mysterious aura. High ceilings and long corridors amplify sound, so that the creak of a floorboard or the whisper of curtains becomes imbued with significance. Windows and mirrors sometimes reflect movement that is not present, adding layers of perception that challenge the visitor's understanding of reality. Every step taken within the house becomes a dialogue with the past, a subtle reminder that the estate is more than just walls and furnishings. At night, Magnolia Plantation fully reveals its spectral qualities. Figures appear in the moonlit halls, moving with deliberate grace. Soft, unexplained noises echo from empty rooms. And the faint scent of perfumed air lingers where no source exists. Guests often describe a sensation of being accompanied, a presence walking beside them, invisible but undeniably real. The combination of sights, sounds, and sensations creates an immersive experience that transcends ordinary exploration. The atmosphere inside the house is charged with history. Every room carries the memory of past occupants. And the air seems to vibrate with the energy of those who walked these floors long ago. The subtle movement of shadows, the delicate whispers, and the occasional brush of a hand combine to make the past palpable, tangible, and deeply affecting. Guests leave with a heightened awareness of time, memory, and the lingering spirits that continue to inhabit the plantation. The surrounding grounds enhance the sense of timelessness. Pathways wind through gardens and past ancient trees, while the river reflects the light of the moon in a way that seems almost otherworldly. The interplay of light, shadow, and sound creates a profound sense of connection. Magnolia Plantation stands as a bridge between eras. Its architecture, gardens, and grand interiors speak to the elegance of its history, while the unseen presence within imbues it with a quiet, persistent mystery. Guests encounter a world where past and present coexist, where the echoes of lives long gone continue to glide through the halls and gardens. Each visit becomes an exploration not only of space, but of memory and the unseen. offering a hauntingly beautiful journey into the enduring spirit of Magnolia Plantation. Cherokee Plantation stands quietly along the banks of a winding river in Natchitoches Parish, its white columns glowing softly in the afternoon light. The mansion is surrounded by centuries-old oak trees, their branches sweeping low across the grounds. Visitors are drawn to the beauty of the landscape, yet beneath the charm, there is a presence that lingers, subtle but unmistakable. Inside the house, the air carries a weight of history. Old furniture sometimes shifts slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands. Chairs tilt or tables move imperceptibly, leaving guests with a sense that the house is not entirely empty. The sound is faint, almost a whisper of movement, but it is enough to create an awareness that the past remains present, intertwined with the present day. Voices are another common occurrence. In rooms that have been abandoned for decades, visitors sometimes hear murmurs. Soft and elusive. They are fragments of conversation, the echoes of lives once lived. Carrying across hallways and through closed doors. The voices do not threaten. Yet they stir curiosity and a sense of connection to the history embedded within the walls. The windows of the plantation offer more than a view of the grounds. Occasionally, a figure appears, a ghostly woman standing silently, watching from a window on an upper floor. She moves with an elegance that seems deliberate yet unobtrusive, a presence that watches over the estate and those who enter. Her form fades when approached directly, leaving behind an impression that lingers long after she disappears. The plantation's architecture enhances the atmosphere. High ceilings and ornate moldings create a sense of grandeur, while polished floors reflect light in ways that deepen shadows along the corridors. The interplay of sunlight and shadow throughout the day creates spaces where perception becomes fluid, where the line between the tangible and the spectral feels thin. The sense of grandeur is palpable, yet ominous. A feeling of impending doom and madness settles over the characters. The atmosphere is heavy with foreboding. The shadows seem to move and twist of their own accord. As the characters move through the plantation, they begin to uncover its dark secrets. The secrets they uncover will change them forever. Guests often report sensations that are difficult to explain. A sudden chill may sweep through a room, or a faint touch brushes the arm, though no one is present. Footsteps echo along hallways with no source, and the quiet hum of the house feels alive, as if it carries memories that are attentive to the presence of visitors. Every sound and movement contributes to the sense that Cherokee Plantation is a living narrative, unfolding slowly in layers of experience. The grounds themselves hold stories as well. Ancient oaks and flowering shrubs line the paths, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. At dusk, shadows stretch across the lawn, creating corridors of darkness where figures are sometimes glimpsed moving among the trees. The river reflects the last light of day, adding an ethereal quality to the landscape, a mirror of the history that the estate preserves. Inside, the rooms invite exploration, each holding details that hint at lives once lived. Candlesticks tilt slightly, books shift on shelves, and the faintest echoes of music or conversation seem to drift through the halls. These subtleties create a heightened awareness of space, a sense that every object carries a memory, and every corner holds a fragment of the past waiting to be noticed. Even small objects seem to participate in the unseen activity. Tables, chairs, and personal belongings shift ever so slightly, leaving visitors to wonder whether it is the building settling or the influence of something beyond explanation. The movements are gentle but persistent, reinforcing the impression that Cherokee Plantation is attentive to the presence of those who walk its floors. Twilight intensifies the atmosphere. The last rays of sun illuminate the facade and gardens, casting long shadows that stretch across the grounds. Figures glimpsed among the trees or near windows seem more vivid in the fading light, their forms blending with the environment yet distinct enough to be noticed. The combination of light, shadow, and history creates a cinematic experience, where every glance and sound feels laden with significance. Visitors often remark on the sensation of being observed. It is not threatening, more an acknowledgement that the estate remembers. The ghostly woman at the window, the faint movements of furniture, and the whispers in the empty rooms all contribute to this awareness, allowing guests to feel connected to a timeline that stretches far beyond their own experience. The gardens provide a further layer to the Plantation's narrative. Meandering paths, ancient trees, and flowering shrubs create spaces that feel both serene and alive with memory. Figures move quietly among the foliage, glimpsed briefly before disappearing. The rustle of leaves and the faint murmur of the river enhance the sense of immersion, making the land itself feel aware and attentive. Sounds play an integral role in the experience. Footsteps echo along empty corridors, doors creak as if welcoming or observing, and soft voices drift through the halls. Each sound is a reminder that Cherokee Plantation carries the weight of memory, a resonance that is palpable even in silence. Guests often describe moments of pause, where the combination of architecture, light, shadow, and subtle movement draws attention to the continuity of life and presence. The estate is more than a historical site, it is a living story, one that encompasses the beauty of its surroundings and the unseen presences that linger within. Every step along the halls and gardens becomes a journey through time, where the past breathes alongside the present. The sensation of history made tangible is persistent. Figures appear, objects move, and voices echo, creating an environment where the ordinary and the extraordinary intertwine seamlessly. Cherokee Plantation offers an immersive encounter with the past, where every glance, sound, and movement invites reflection, curiosity, and awe. Visitors leave the estate carrying the impressions of their experiences. The subtle movements of furniture, the ghostly presence at the window, and the whispered echoes in empty rooms linger in memory. Cherokee Plantation stands as a testament to the lives and stories it has held for centuries, offering an atmosphere where history, beauty, and spectral presence converge in a captivating, immersive experience. Belle Grove Plantation in Iberville Parish stands as a grand testament to the history of the region. Its stately walls and sprawling grounds suggest elegance, yet beneath this veneer, a different presence lingers. Visitors walking through the hallways often report the sensation of being watched, a subtle awareness that something unseen moves among them. Figures are said to cross the hallways at night, appearing just at the edge of vision. They glide silently, leaving no footprints or traces, disappearing when approached. Their movements are fleeting, yet unmistakable, giving a sense of life within spaces that should otherwise be empty. Cold spots appear without warning, chilling the air suddenly and sharply. The temperature shifts are localized, brushing against skin and settling in rooms as if someone unseen has passed by. These pockets of cold linger briefly before fading, leaving a residual awareness of the supernatural. Soft cries echo through the plantation in rooms where no one sleeps. The sound is delicate, sorrowful, yet difficult to pinpoint. Visitors have reported pausing mid-step, listening intently, feeling an emotional weight that seems to emanate from the walls themselves. The cries evoke a sense of history carried through the very structure, a whisper of lives long past. The architecture of Belle Grove Plantation amplifies these experiences. Footsteps echo unnaturally, shadows stretch along walls, and the combination of open spaces and enclosed rooms creates an environment ripe for lingering presences. Furniture and decor, though maintained, carry an air of history. Chairs, tables, and beds seem charged with the memory of those who once used them. Some visitors feel gentle touches or a light pressure, fleeting interactions that suggest the past is still present. These subtle phenomena are not harmful but carry a weight of remembrance that is impossible to ignore. These subtle phenomena are not harmful but carry a weight of remembrance that is impossible to ignore. Windows, framed by heavy curtains, allow light to filter in during the day. Yet at night, the plantation transforms. Trees outside sway gently, casting shifting patterns of darkness within the rooms. The blending of interior and exterior creates a space where perception is heightened, making every sound and movement feel significant. Visitors often notice small, unexpected movements. Curtains sway without wind, floorboards creak without footsteps, and doors move slightly as if pushed by invisible hands. These occurrences build a tension that is not frightening, but deeply immersive. The plantation seems to be in quiet communication with those who enter, responding subtly to their presence. Responding subtly to their presence. The echoes of Belle Grove are not limited to sounds or cold spots. Some have sensed presences hovering near doorways, peering through windows, or standing silently at the ends of hallways. These figures do not interact aggressively, but their presence is undeniable. They carry the weight of history, reminding visitors of the lives and stories that remain embedded in the building. Every room has its own character, shaped by past events. Some are warm and still, while others hold an unmistakable chill. The combination of visual cues, auditory phenomena, and subtle shifts in air pressure creates an experience that engages all the senses. Walking through the plantation becomes an exercise in awareness, with every step revealing another layer of its lingering history. Nighttime heightens the sensations. Hallways seem longer, shadows stretch further. And the emotional presence of those who once inhabited the spaces becomes more tangible. Soft cries may sound from upstairs. Footsteps echo in empty rooms. And glimpses of figures can appear for only a moment. These experiences are fleeting but powerful, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness them. The plantation's surroundings contribute to the atmosphere. Oak trees sway quietly outside. And the grounds themselves hold the memory of centuries past. The combination of architecture, natural surroundings, and historical resonance creates an environment where time feels fluid, and the past seems never far away. Belle Grove Plantation does not seek to frighten. Its haunting is subtle, immersive, and deeply connected to the history it represents. Visitors leave with an awareness of presence, a recognition that the spaces they traverse carry echoes of life and loss. The experiences of figures moving through halls, cold spots, and distant creases form a tapestry of memory preserved within the plantation's walls. Each visit to Belle Grove is unique. The placement of lights, the behavior of shadows, and the sounds that emerge vary, creating an unpredictable yet coherent sense of the unseen. This unpredictability enhances the feeling that the plantation is alive in its own way, carrying forward the stories of those who lived, worked, and passed through its rooms. The hallways, rooms, and grounds of Belle Grove Plantation offer a profound connection to the past. They serve as a reminder that history is not only recorded in documents or artifacts but also in the spaces that housed people and events. Visitors experience a palpable link to those who came before, a living memory woven into the walls and air. A living memory woven into the walls and air. A living memory woven into the walls and air. Walking through the plantation, the senses remain alert. Every creak, shadow, and whisper draws attention, revealing the subtle ways in which the past persists. Belle Grove stands as more than a historic building. It is a vessel of memory and presence. An immersive environment where visitors can feel the weight and texture of history. Where visitors can feel the weight and texture of history. Even after leaving, the impression of Belle Grove lingers. The cold spots, soft cries, and fleeting figures remain in the mind. A reminder of the plantation's enduring character. It is a place where the past is alive. Not through aggression, but through subtle awareness. Offering an intimate connection to history that cannot be experienced elsewhere. A place where the past is alive. Not through aggression, but through subtle awareness. offering an intimate connection to history that cannot be experienced elsewhere. Belle Grove Plantation invites exploration, reflection, and attentiveness. Its haunting is not of terror, but of remembrance. Figures crossing hallways, sudden chills, and distant cries are manifestations of a history that refuses to fade. Visitors depart carrying the sense of a space that is both timeless and alive, a testament to the enduring presence of memory within the walls of this remarkable plantation. The grounds of Magnolia Mound Plantation stretch across centuries of history, its weathered structures standing as silent witnesses to the passage of time. During the day, sunlight glints off the gabled roofs and wooden shutters, and the gentle rustle of live oaks and magnolias carries through the air. Yet when evening falls, the plantation seems to transform. Shadows deepen, and an eerie presence drifts through the halls and open fields, reminding visitors that history lingers in more ways than one. Walking along the pathways, guests often report glimpses of ghostly figures. These apparitions move with purpose yet remain elusive, vanishing when approached or caught in the corner of the eye. Some appear near the main house, their silhouettes reflected briefly in the windows before dissolving into darkness. Others wander the gardens and outbuildings, a subtle reminder that the plantation is alive with memories long past. Inside the main house, the atmosphere is heavy with history. Rooms that once hosted gatherings now echo with whispers that have no apparent source. Visitors describe hearing voices conversing softly, words almost intelligible, lingering in the air before fading away. The creak of wooden floors can be heard even when no one is present, footsteps moving from room to room as though someone invisible is retracing the steps of a bygone era. Objects sometimes shift on their own. A chair may tilt slightly, a small trinket moves across a table, or a door swings open without wind. These subtle movements are never aggressive, yet they leave a tangible sense of unease. Guests feel as though the plantation itself is aware of their presence, observing silently, and reminding them that the past has not entirely departed. The surrounding gardens hold a quiet, spectral energy as well. Under the canopy of magnolias, shadows seem to gather and move with an intelligence of their own. The breeze carries with it faint whispers, brushing across the skin like invisible fingers. Visitors walking along the shaded paths sometimes feel as if someone is following, a presence that lingers just beyond vision. Watching, waiting, and occasionally making itself known in small, inexplicable ways. The Plantation's outbuildings add kitchens, storage areas, and barns. And barns are not merely relics of history, but spaces where echoes of the past seem to reside. These subtle disturbances suggest that the lives once lived here remain etched into the very framework of the plantation. One of the most striking features of Magnolia Mound Plantation is the interplay of light and shadow. As the sun sets, the long shadows of trees and buildings stretch across the grounds, creating shapes that seem almost alive. These shifting patterns can give the impression of movement where there is none, yet some visitors swear they have seen figures walking among the shadows, slow and deliberate, as if tracing the lives of those who came before. The Plantation's history is deeply woven into its presence. Every room, every hallway, every tree holds a story. And these stories often manifest in ways that defy explanation. Guests report sudden chills in rooms that were warm moments before. A subtle pressure in the air. Or the sensation of being observed when no one else is present. These experiences create a layered atmosphere of mystery, where the line between past and present blurs. Even the exterior of the plantation contributes to its haunted aura. The open fields stretch beyond the house. And under the cover of darkness, the silhouettes of the outbuildings appear more imposing. Fences, gates, and garden paths become stages for fleeting glimpses of movement. Shadows that dart just out of sight, leaving visitors to question whether they have seen something real or imagined. Many who walk the grounds describe a sense of connection to the people who lived and worked here. There is a feeling of continuity. A silent acknowledgement that the plantation is not empty but occupied by echoes of the past. Whispers, footsteps, and subtle movements create an immersive experience. One that blends history with the unexplained, giving visitors a sense that they are walking among the memories of those who once called Magnolia Mound home. The combination of architecture, landscape, and history ensures that the plantation remains compelling both as a historical site and as a place where the unexplained lingers. Guests often feel that each step along the pathways or through the rooms carries them closer to understanding the lives and stories of those who remain unseen. The plantation's energy is pervasive yet gentle, a constant reminder of the depth of its past. Magnolia Mound Plantation is more than a historical landmark. It is a space where time seems to fold. Where the present touches the past in subtle, mysterious ways. From the shifting objects in the house to the fleeting figures in the gardens. From the whispers in empty rooms to the footsteps along wooden floors. The plantation offers an immersive experience that blends beauty, history, and the inexplicable. For visitors, the experience is unforgettable. Every room, pathway, and tree contributes to a sense of presence that is at once comforting and unsettling. The plantation invites reflection, not only on its rich history but also on the lingering energy of those who once walked its grounds. Shadows and whispers follow gently, guiding visitors through a world where the past is never truly gone. As night falls and the plantation settles into darkness, shapes shift in the moonlight. Subtle movements are seen from the corner of the eye. The air itself seems alive with memory. Magnolia Mound Plantation stands as a testament to the endurance of history. The persistence of memory and the quiet compelling presence of spirits who refuse to be forgotten. Walking its grounds is to step into a story that spans centuries. A narrative made of stone, wood, and whispers. The plantation holds its secrets carefully, revealing them only to those who are attentive, patient, and sensitive to the subtle signs of the past. In this way, Magnolia Mound Plantation remains a living testament to history and the mysteries that continue to inhabit it. Destrehan Manor stands with stately grace along the Mississippi River, its white columns and sprawling grounds reflecting centuries of wealth and history. By day, sunlight dances across the gardens and illuminates the grand interiors, revealing intricate woodwork, elegant furnishings, and the careful preservation of a bygone era. Yet as evening falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows deepen in the corners of rooms, and a quiet tension seems to settle over the house, a presence that is both subtle and undeniable. The interior speaks of elegance and refinement. Yet it is here that the restless spirits are most often felt. Figures in period attire have been seen walking the hallways, appearing at windows, and moving through rooms with a silent grace. They vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving only the echo of their presence behind. Guests describe the sensation of being watched, of footsteps echoing through floors long after the rooms have been emptied. The manor becomes a place where the past lingers just beyond perception, creating a hauntingly immersive experience. Visitors often report the sensation of icy fingers brushing against their arms or shoulders. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it leaves a lasting impression. These fleeting touches are accompanied by faint whispers, delicate and elusive, as if the house itself remembers conversations and secrets long past. Every step through Destrehan Manor becomes a dialogue with history, a reminder that this is a place where time and memory coexist. The hallways and staircases amplify the sensation of presence. The wooden floors carry sounds that are both familiar and unsettling. A creak here, a shuffle there, resonates through the quiet, suggesting the movement of someone unseen. Guests often pause, uncertain if they are witnessing a trick of light or the shadow of a figure from another time. The gardens surrounding Destrehan Manor contribute to its haunting character. Ancient trees cast long shadows under the moonlight, and the river reflects a silvery glow across the grounds. The river reflects a silvery glow across the grounds. Figures have been glimpsed moving among the foliage. Figures have been glimpsed moving among the foliage, vanishing when approached, their presence suggested only by the sway of branches or the soft rustle of leaves. The air grows cool and still, carrying a sense of memory and lingering energy, as if the land itself holds on to the echoes of the past. As if the land itself holds on to the echoes of the past. Architecture and atmosphere intertwine to create the manor's distinct aura. High ceilings and long corridors carry sound in unusual ways, making distant noises feel immediate and intimate. Mirrors sometimes reveal movement that is not there, offering fleeting glimpses of the past. Every detail, from the ornate moldings to the polished floors, becomes a stage for the subtle interplay of light and shadow, presence and absence. At night, the manor fully reveals its spectral qualities. Figures glide silently across rooms and porches, appearing briefly at windows or along the hallways. Footsteps echo where no one walks, and whispers drift through empty spaces, carrying an intangible emotion that is both haunting and captivating. Guests may feel a sudden chill or the sensation of being accompanied, a reminder that the house is alive in a way that transcends the physical. The house carries with it a weight of history that is felt as much as seen. Each room holds the memory of lives once lived. And the presence of the past is palpable. Shadows and whispers create a continuous dialogue with visitors, inviting them to engage with the intangible. And the experience is immersive, blending observation with sensation, leaving a lasting impression of both wonder and unease. The surrounding grounds amplify the sense of timelessness. Pathways wind through gardens, past ancient trees, and along the riverbank. Each step echoing with the faint traces of those who came before. The interplay of light, shadow, and reflection creates a feeling of connection between the present and the past, offering an experience that is as beautiful as it is haunting. Destrehan Manor is a bridge between centuries, a place where history is ever present. And the unseen continues to make its presence known. Guests encounter an estate that is more than architecture and landscape. It is a living memory, a convergence of time, emotion, and lingering spirits. Each visit becomes a journey through history, a careful exploration of space. And the echoes of those who once walked these halls. The manor remains a testament to the enduring resonance of the past. A place where the elegance of its design is inseparable from the haunting presence that inhabits it. Offering a profound and unforgettable experience for all who enter. LaSalle Plantation sits quietly along the banks of a winding river in St. John Parish. Its white columns glowing softly in the late afternoon light. The sprawling grounds are lined with ancient oak trees, their gnarled branches stretching over the veranda and gardens. The plantation is beautiful. Yet beneath its charm lies a presence that lingers, subtle but undeniable. Visitors often remark on the shadows that move silently along the veranda. They shift and stretch with no visible source, gliding across the polished wood floors. As though the building itself remembers those who once walked there. The motion is fluid and deliberate, leaving an impression of watchfulness, as if the plantation observes every step taken across its grounds. Soft weeping sometimes fills the night air. It carries across the gardens and through the open windows, gentle but persistent, creating an atmosphere that is both haunting and melancholic. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, blending with the rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of the river. Guests feel the weight of these echoes, sensing the presence of lives long past intertwined with the present. Sensing the presence of lives long past intertwined with the present. Figures dressed in white have been seen gliding across the grounds. Their movements are slow and deliberate, almost ethereal. And they vanish when approached, leaving behind only the memory of their passing. Some appear near the garden paths. Others on the veranda. As though retracing steps that were taken generations ago. Their presence is not threatening. But it adds a palpable tension. An awareness of history and the lingering energy of the plantation. The architecture of LaSalle Plantation contributes to its eerie charm. Tall columns support wide verandas that sweep around the house, casting long shadows in the fading sunlight. High ceilings and grand doorways create spaces where sound carries, amplifying footsteps and whispers into echoes that seem to linger long after the source has gone. The polished floors and intricate woodwork reflect light in ways that deepen shadows, enhancing the sense that the house itself is alive with memory. Inside, the air is thick with history. Furniture shifts subtly, as if nudged by unseen hands. Chairs tilt, small objects move imperceptibly, and doors close quietly without cause. The guests experience the sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that the house remembers every step, every glance, and every sound. The atmosphere is immersive, drawing visitors into the stories embedded in the walls and the spaces around them. The gardens surrounding LaSalle Plantation are equally alive with presence. At twilight, long shadows stretch across the lawn, creating corridors where figures are sometimes glimpsed moving among the trees. Soft light filters through the foliage, illuminating fleeting glimpses of forms dressed in white. These apparitions appear and disappear, adding to the sense that the land itself holds memories that are attentive to the living. Sounds play an integral role in the Plantation's haunting experience. The faint clatter of objects resonates in the rooms. And soft whispers drift through open windows. Even the night air feels charged with energy. Carrying faint echoes of voices and movements that cannot be explained. Each sound invites visitors to become attuned to the layers of history that coexist with the present, enhancing the immersive quality of the experience. Twilight intensifies the atmosphere. As the sun dips below the horizon, shadows lengthen and stretch across the veranda and gardens. Figures glimpsed among the trees or near the windows seem more vivid, their forms blending seamlessly with the environment yet distinct enough to be noticed. The interplay of light and shadow creates a cinematic effect, where every movement and sound feels meaningful, and every glance may reveal a secret of the past. Visitors often describe a heightened sense of awareness on the grounds. The combination of architecture, light, sound, and subtle movement creates an environment where perception is sharpened. Figures appear in peripheral vision, furniture shifts gently, and the air itself seems charged with memory. The plantation is not merely a historical site, but a living story where every element participates in the narrative, inviting reflection and curiosity. The sensation of being observed is persistent yet subtle. Shadows, whispers, and faint movements create an ongoing sense that the plantation remembers. The figures in white, the shifting furniture, and the soft weeping all contribute to a feeling of continuity, connecting the present with a past that remains ever present. Visitors leave the estate carrying these impressions, a lingering awareness that the plantation holds more than history alone. LaSalle Plantation is more than a place to visit. It is an experience that engages all the senses. The gentle shifts of furniture. The ghostly figures among the gardens. And the echoes of long-ago voices create an environment where history feels alive. The beauty of the architecture and the grounds blends with the spectral presence, producing a setting that is both captivating and haunting, inviting exploration and reflection. Every step on the veranda, every glance across the gardens, and every sound in the hallways becomes part of a narrative that stretches across time. The shadows and figures remind visitors that the past is never fully gone, and that memory lingers in the spaces left behind. LaSalle Plantation offers an immersive journey into a world where beauty, history, and the spectral converge. creating an unforgettable experience for those who walk its grounds. As night deepens, the estate takes on a more mysterious character. Shadows lengthen, whispers grow fainter yet more insistent, and the soft weeping seems to rise from the very soil. Figures in white glide past unseen, vanishing as quickly as they appear, leaving behind only a sense of their presence. Guests depart with the feeling that LaSalle Plantation continues to watch, remember, and hold the echoes of lives long past, a timeless witness to its own haunting story. Evergreen Fields in Wallace sits quietly, its sprawling acres bathed in the warm glow of sunset. On first glance, it appears serene, almost timeless, yet those who walk its grounds sense an underlying tension. The air carries a weight that is difficult to define, a watchfulness that seems to follow every step. As the sun dips lower, ghostly figures begin to appear in the fields. They move slowly, almost gliding across the land, their shapes barely defined against the dimming light. Some linger near the old stone fences, while others seem to vanish into the tall grasses. Visitors have often paused mid-step, unsure whether their eyes deceive them or whether the figures are truly present. The sounds of the past seem to echo across evergreen fields. Voices float through the air, repeating fragments of old conversations. They are soft, distant, almost like whispers carried on the wind, yet distinct enough to make one freeze in place. The conversations hint at work once done, moments of laughter, or the murmur of orders long forgotten. Unseen doors creak open, breaking the stillness of the plantation. The sound is deliberate and slow, as if some thinga or summonia is moving within the buildings. Visitors report pausing at the sound, waiting for a glimpse of movement, yet find nothing. The doors close just as softly, leaving only the memory of their motion. The architecture of evergreen fields contributes to its atmosphere. Windows, framed by aged wood, reflect the fading sunlight in ways that make shadows shift unexpectedly. The long hallways echo faint footsteps, though no one is walking. And the ceilings seem to hold the whispers that float through the rooms. Every corner of the plantation carries its own resonance. The fields stretch outward, silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves or distant bird call. Yet, within this quiet, there is life of another kind, an intangible presence that seems aware of each visitor. The land itself feels alive, holding memories and motions that extend beyond what is visible. Even in the rooms of the main house, the sensation of presence persists. Some guests have reported feeling a gentle brush against a shoulder, or a momentary chill as they move through a corridor. Furniture seems slightly displaced, as if someone unseen has shifted it. These subtle interactions are fleeting but undeniable, leaving a sense that the house itself remembers its history. The fields are particularly active at twilight. Shadows stretch long and bend with the contours of the land, blending with the forms of the apparitions. Visitors walking slowly across the grass have described figures watching them from a distance, maintaining a quiet vigilance. The combination of light and shadow creates a sense of depth and movement, as if the past is unfolding in real time. Sounds appear and disappear without clear origin. The wind may carry laughter, faint footsteps, or the subtle shuffle of someone walking just beyond vision. These auditory phenomena are inconsistent, yet they leave a lasting impression. Visitors often describe a feeling of anticipation, a tension that grows with each passing moment, as if the land itself is aware of their presence. Time seems altered at evergreen fields. Moments stretch and contract. And the usual markers of day and night feel shifted. The interplay of sunlight, shadow, and memory gives the sense that the plantation exists both in the present and in a layered history. Every step taken feels both immediate and deeply rooted in the past. The grounds themselves seem to respond to visitors. Grass bends slightly under unseen footsteps. Leaves fall quietly without wind. And the fields carry the echoes of those who once worked them. These sensations are not frightening. Yet they evoke a deep awareness of the history embedded in the land. There is a solemnity here. A sense of respect demanded by the weight of lives that have come before. Visitors often pause near the edges of the fields, feeling the presence more acutely. Shapes move at the periphery of vision, soft whispers drift through the air, and the occasional creak of a distant door punctuates the silence. Nightfall amplifies the Plantation's atmosphere. The fading light makes shadows deeper, the figures more distinct. The wind carries voices that seem close enough to touch. Yet impossible to locate. The air becomes heavier, pressing gently on the skin, reminding visitors that the land holds its memories in ways that are tangible yet elusive. Evergreen Fields does not seek to frighten but to engage. The ghostly figures, repeated voices, and creaking doors offer glimpses into a past that refuses to be forgotten. Visitors leave with a sense of having walked not only through space, but also through time, feeling the weight of history and the lingering presence of those who lived and worked on the plantation. The plantation invites reflection, a deep connection to the land and its stories. Every sound, every movement, and every subtle change in temperature contributes to an understanding that this is a place where memory remains alive. Evergreen Fields is more than a location, it is a vessel of history, where the past continues to observe and interact with the present. Walking its fields and hallways, visitors become part of a continuum. The lives and events that shaped the plantation. That history is not only recorded but felt, embedded in the land itself. Evergreen Fields is a space where presence and memory coexist, offering an immersive, reflective, and unforgettable experience. By the time visitors depart, the impressions linger. The shadows at sunset, the voices in the air, and the creaking doors. Where history is alive. Where every step resonates with the past. And where the watchful presence of the plantation quietly endures. A place where history is alive. Where every step resonates with the past. And where the watchful presence of the plantation quietly endures. A place where history is alive. Where every step resonates with the past. And where the watchful presence of the plantation quietly endures. The abandoned wing of Laura's house stretches silently into the past, its walls steeped in history and shadow. Once a lively part of the estate, it now stands forgotten, its corridors filled with dust and the faint scent of time long gone. Sunlight filters through broken windows during the day, casting fractured patterns across the worn wooden floors, yet it is at night that the wing truly seems to awaken. Guests who wander these halls speak of figures appearing unexpectedly. Fleeting shapes that vanish when approached. The shadows move with a strange familiarity, as if retracing the steps of those who once walked here. Corridors seem longer than memory suggests, turning corners that lead not only through space but into the echo of decades past. The air carries a peculiar chill, a coldness that is not explained by the weather or drafty walls. Visitors sometimes feel the brush of unseen hands along their arms or shoulders. A light but unmistakable presence that lingers long enough to make the hair on their necks rise. It is a subtle touch, never violent, but deeply unsettling, as if the wing itself remembers and reaches out. From within the empty rooms comes another layer of the haunting. These are not the tunes of the present but long-forgotten lullabies, melodies that once comforted children or filled the halls with life. The notes are delicate, echoing as if bouncing off the walls, disappearing into the shadows almost as soon as they are heard. Some who listen closely swear they can detect the rise and fall of a familiar voice, a whisper of the past carried on the air. The architecture of the wing amplifies its haunting presence. High ceilings and narrow hallways create strange echoes, turning even the smallest sound into a ripple of mystery. Doors hang slightly ajar or close just enough to allow a glimpse into darkness. The old wood groans with age, sometimes in response to the wind, and sometimes for reasons that cannot be explained. Every creak, every subtle shift in the floorboard seems deliberate, as though the house itself is aware of intruders in its forgotten corners. Windows, framed in peeling paint and glass marred by time, offer eerie reflections. Occasionally, figures appear where no one should be, a ghostly silhouette framed by moonlight or the fading glow of sunset. Mirrors and glass panes reflect more than the present, capturing echoes that resist explanation. Visitors who stare too long report sensations of being watched, a quiet awareness that someone or something lingers just beyond the limits of sight. Even the furniture, covered in dust and disuse, seems to carry memories. Chairs tilted slightly out of place, a small table with objects rearranged, or a forgotten drawer left open. These movements are never overt or threatening but serve as subtle reminders that the wing is not empty, that history remains alive in unexpected ways. Walking deeper into the wing, one notices how the air changes. The temperature drops and a sense of stillness settles over the space, as though time itself is holding its breath. Footsteps echo unnaturally, sometimes not matching the step of the visitor, creating the impression that someone walks alongside or behind them. These sounds are delicate, almost musical, yet they carry an undeniable weight of the unseen. Some visitors describe the feeling of being followed, not in menace but in quiet observation. The shadows seem to flit just beyond vision, turning corners before they can be seen. Watching silently as though curious about the living intruders. The lullabies occasionally resume, drifting from room to room, guiding the visitor deeper into the forgotten history of the wing. The decay of the space enhances its ghostly aura. Peeling paint, worn wood, and fractured windows create a sense of abandonment that is both tangible and psychological. Visitors often pause to take in the stillness, realizing that the wing is not merely an architectural remnant, but a living repository of memories, echoes, and the lingering presence of those who once moved through its halls. Even the smallest details contribute to the atmosphere. A chair left askew, a cracked mirror reflecting the faintest light, or the subtle scent of something long vanished can trigger a cascade of sensations. It is in these moments that the wing communicates most powerfully, revealing that its haunting is not dependent on overt displays, but thrives in the quiet, in the subtle, and in the spaces between the seen and unseen. Time seems different here. Minutes stretch and contract. The combination of shadows and the present. Each step along the hallways, a chance to witness the intangible presence of the wing. Laura's forgotten wing is not merely abandoned, it is a place where past and present coexist in delicate balance. Every room, corridor, and shadow carries the imprint of those who once inhabited the space. Visitors leave with a sense of having glimpsed another world, a world where memory lingers, whispers carry weight, and unseen hands guide the curious through the echoes of time. As night deepens, the haunting becomes more palpable. The corridors stretch endlessly in the dim light, shadows shift subtly along walls, and the faint lullabies continue to play. Each visitor who walks these halls becomes part of the ongoing story, a witness to the enduring presence of Laura's forgotten wing. A place where the past has never truly left. Walking through the abandoned corridors is to step into history itself, to experience the lingering whispers of lives once lived, and to feel the subtle, persistent pulse of a space that refuses to remain silent. To experience the lingering whispers of lives once lived, and to feel the subtle, persistent pulse of a space that refuses to remain silent. To experience the lingering whispers of lives once lived, and to feel the subtle, persistent pulse of a space that refuses to remain silent. To presence, and to the quiet, haunting beauty of places left behind but never truly empty. And to the quiet, haunting beauty of places left behind but never truly empty. Places left behind but never truly empty. Oak Alea's Shadow Hall stretches along the grand avenue of oaks, its long corridors and sweeping balconies illuminated by the silver light of the moon. The air carries a stillness that is almost palpable, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. By day, the plantation appears serene, elegant, and timeless, yet. As night falls, an unsettling presence begins to make itself known, revealing the layers of history that linger within the house. Visitors often speak of shadows that do not match their owners, moving independently across floors and walls. A figure may stand still, yet its shadow drifts along the hallway, turning corners and gliding across the polished wood with a life of its own. It is subtle at first, almost easy to dismiss, but over time the sense of being observed grows. Every step through Shadow Hall is accompanied by the faint impression that the past is not entirely past. That it continues to move, unseen but undeniably present. Along the balconies, figures appear, drifting silently beneath the moonlight. Some are glimpsed in the distance, faint outlines that vanish when approached, leaving only the sound of their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The architecture of the hall, with its high ceilings and long stretches of polished wood, amplifies every sound, every whisper, creating a layered experience of tension and curiosity. The effect is subtle yet profound, a sensation that history is walking alongside the present, momentarily revealing itself before slipping back into shadow. Whispered warnings float through the air, often unintelligible, carried on a breeze that seems to have no source. Guests describe a sense of unease, a feeling that the hall itself is speaking, its voice ancient and persistent. The whispers are soft, almost coaxing, but they leave a deep impression, stirring questions and a heightened awareness of the surroundings. These moments are fleeting yet unforgettable, as if the house is inviting visitors to pay attention, to witness the stories that have been layered into its very walls. The hallways and staircases play tricks on perception. Light from moon and lanterns casts shadows that shift and twist in ways that defy explanation. Shapes appear at the periphery of vision, then vanish when looked at directly. The sensation is not of fear alone but of curiosity mingled with awe, a compelling mixture that draws guests deeper into the experience. Every room, every corner seems alive with residual memory, a silent archive of lives that once moved through these spaces with laughter, sorrow, and everyday purpose. A silent archive of lives that once moved through these spaces with laughter, sorrow, and everyday purpose. Some visitors report feeling a gentle pressure, a brush of air that resembles a passing presence, yet leaves no physical trace. Cold spots appear suddenly, settling in corners or along staircases, intensifying the impression that the hall is not empty. Every detail of the architecture, from the carved railings to the sweeping verandas, becomes part of the experience, providing a stage for the subtle interplay between the seen and the unseen. The house communicates not with grand gestures but with these quiet, haunting details, layering tension and mystery into the atmosphere. Layering tension and mystery into the atmosphere. The sense of time shifts within Shadow Hall. Hours feel stretched, and moments of stillness become charged with anticipation. Guests notice shadows moving where none should be, whispers that linger longer than reason allows, and figures that drift across balconies before fading into darkness. The experience is immersive, drawing the visitor into a careful balance between skepticism and wonder. A place where the elegance of Oak Alley meets the enigmatic presence that continues to inhabit it. Outside, the ancient oaks add to the atmosphere, their long branches casting skeletal shadows across the hallways and verandas. The moonlight filters through leaves, creating patterns that seem almost alive, shifting with every breeze. Figures have been seen at windows, watching silently, and the rustle of leaves can resemble distant footsteps, merging natural and supernatural perception into a single, haunting experience. Oak Alley's Shadow Hall is more than a historic house, it is a living memory. Its architecture, its shadows, and its whispers combine to create a space where past and present intersect. Every guest becomes part of its story, walking through corridors that carry centuries of presence. experiencing moments that linger long after the visit ends. The hall invites reflection, curiosity, and respect, offering a hauntingly beautiful glimpse into a world where history, memory, and the unknown coexist in quiet, compelling harmony. The allure of Shadow Hall lies in its subtlety. There are no grand apparitions, no violent interruptions, only the quiet persistence of presence. Shadows move, whispers linger, and figures glide along balconies, offering glimpses of a time long past. Each visitor experiences the hall uniquely, yet all leave with the impression that the plantation is more than it appears. A place where the past continues to breathe and the unseen remains ever vigilant. Walking through Oak Alea's Shadow Hall is a journey into history, memory, and the unknown. The elegance of the plantation, combined with the quiet, persistent haunting, creates an unforgettable experience. Every step is a dialogue with the unseen, every whisper a reminder of the lives that shaped this place. The visitor senses that the past is alive, that every corner, every shadow, every whisper carries the echoes of those who came before. And that these echoes will continue to drift through the hall long after the night has passed. Melrose Gardens in Natchitoches Parish is a place where history and nature intertwine, its expansive grounds filled with centuries-old trees and meticulously kept flower beds. As the sun dips toward the horizon, the gardens take on a different character, one that feels alive with echoes of the past. Figures sometimes appear among the gardens at dusk. They move slowly and deliberately, blending with the long shadows of trees and the soft light of lanterns. Their presence is fleeting, often glimpsed from the corner of the eye, vanishing when approached, leaving behind only a sense of quiet observation. Visitors sense that these forms are not meant to frighten, but to linger, a reminder of lives once intertwined with the land. Soft laughter drifts through the air. It is light and melodic, yet carries a haunting undertone that seems to belong to another time. Guests pause, trying to locate the source, only to find the paths empty and the gardens still, as if the sound itself is a memory playing out before them. Objects occasionally shift. Chairs tilt slightly, a small lantern rocks as if touched, and gates swing gently despite calm air. These subtle movements create unease, a reminder that the gardens hold more than flowers and trees. Each shift is deliberate yet gentle, a whisper of presence that makes visitors question what they see and feel. The sensation is not aggressive, but insistent, drawing attention to the unseen layers of history embedded in every corner of the estate. The architecture of Melrose Gardens complements its spectral character. Wrought iron fences, stone pathways, and classical garden structures catch the fading light, casting long shadows across the lawns. Arbors and pergolas create intimate spaces where movement and sound are amplified, turning the rustle of leaves into whispers and the wind into voices. The interplay of light and shadow enhances the sense of mystery, making every turn of a path or glance toward a hedge an invitation to perceive more than the visible. Visitors often remark on the heightened awareness the gardens create. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile sensations sharpens the senses. Figures glimpsed in peripheral vision, subtle movements of objects, and fleeting sounds of laughter create an atmosphere that engages curiosity and reflection. Every step on the pathways seems part of a larger narrative, where the past and present coexist in delicate balance. As twilight deepens, the gardens transform further. Shadows stretch and sway, creating corridors where figures may appear to move gracefully among the trees and flower beds. The soft laughter and footsteps seem closer, yet still unattainable, as though the gardens themselves are performing an elaborate dance with memory and time. Visitors feel the pull of history, the lingering energy of lives once spent within these grounds. The plants themselves seem alive in this atmosphere. Ancient oaks and towering magnolias sway with the evening breeze, their leaves whispering and rustling as if in conversation. Flowers nod gently, catching the last rays of sunlight, and garden paths shimmer under the soft glow of lanterns. The natural elements of Melrose Gardens blend seamlessly with the subtle paranormal, creating an immersive environment where every sense is engaged. The air carries a delicate mix of scents, from the blooming flowers to the earthy undertones of the soil. Within this fragrant atmosphere, the echoes of the past seem tangible. Guests may feel a slight brush on the arm or a presence near the shoulder, fleeting sensations. These moments are gentle but persistent, reinforcing the idea that the gardens are not merely a place to walk, but a space alive with memory and energy. Evenings at Melrose Gardens are especially profound. The sky turns deep blue. Lanterns glow softly, and shadows merge with the darkness, creating spaces where imagination and reality converge. Figures dressed in attire of bygone eras appear and fade. Footsteps echo and dissolve, and laughter blends with the sighing of the wind. Every sound, every movement, becomes part of a tapestry that connects visitors to a long history etched into the soil and structures. The sensation of presence grows strongest along the more secluded paths. Small gates lead to hidden corners where flowers climb trellises and ivy covers walls. In these areas, shadows are more pronounced, and sounds more distinct. Guests report glimpses of forms moving between the trees, the gentle creak of gates swinging, and the faint scent of perfume or cologne that seems misplaced in time. Each encounter is brief, yet unforgettable, leaving a lingering sense of wonder and reflection. Melrose Gardens is a space where beauty and mystery coexist. The combination of architectural elegance, natural splendor and spectral activity creates a layered experience. Figures in the gardens, soft laughter, shifting objects, and whispered footsteps all contribute to a narrative that transcends the visible, inviting visitors to engage with history in an intimate and personal way. Walking through the gardens at dusk, guests cannot help but feel they are part of something larger. Every path, every hedge, and every flower becomes a participant in the story. The unseen figures, the gentle movements, and the melodic laughter remind visitors that the gardens are alive with memory, observation, and quiet energy. The gardens offer a hauntingly beautiful journey where history, nature, and the spectral converge, to create an unforgettable experience for all who wander its grounds. As night falls completely, the gardens settle into a tranquil stillness. Shadows blend with darkness, leaving only the faint glimmers of lanterns, and the soft echo of footsteps and laughter. The presence that has been felt throughout the evening lingers, a subtle reminder that Melrose Gardens holds secrets and stories that are attentive, patient, and timeless. Visitors depart carrying an impression of beauty entwined with mystery. A lasting memory of a place where the past continues to watch, move, and whisper. Whitney Field stretches wide under the sky, an expanse of grass that seems ordinary at first glance. Yet there is an unseen weight here, a presence that lingers beyond the eye's reach. The field is open and inviting, but those who walk across it quickly sense that they are not alone. At the edge of the trees, figures sometimes stand silently, their forms faint but unmistakable. The shapes are fleeting, vanishing when approached, yet their presence leaves a lasting impression. Visitors pause, straining to understand what they have seen, only to feel the same unsettling awareness pressing around them. Soft whispers drift across the field, carried by a gentle breeze. They are elusive, almost musical, a murmur that cannot be traced to any source. The words are lost to time, fragments of voices from the past, echoing through the expanse. Even when silence returns, the sensation lingers, as if the air itself holds memory. Walking through Whitney Fields, one cannot escape the feeling of being watched. Eyes seem to follow from the edges of the trees, from shadowed patches among the grass. The open space offers no concealment, yet the gaze persists. Some describe a tingling along the skin, a subtle pressure that grows with each step further into the field. The landscape itself appears alive with quiet movement. Leaves rustle despite the absence of wind. Shadows shift imperceptibly. And the ground occasionally feels uneven beneath the feet. As if reacting to the presence of the unseen. And the ground occasionally feels uneven beneath the feet, as if reacting to the presence of the unseen. Even the sunlight seems tempered here, softer, diffused. Creating long shadows that merge with the forms at the tree line. Visitors often recount moments where time feels altered. Steps echo differently than expected. Sounds carry farther than they should. Distant noises seem closer. A snap of a twig, the rustle of grass, or the faint sigh of wind becomes magnified, drawing attention to spaces that may or may not hold something unseen. The figures at the edge of the trees are not aggressive, yet their presence is undeniable. They move with purpose, sometimes appearing closer, sometimes retreating into darkness. The field itself seems to act as a stage, where these subtle interactions unfold in quiet, ghostly choreography. Observers often feel a pull toward them, a curiosity mingled with caution. A curiosity mingled with caution. Even in the brightest daylight, Whitney Fields retains a sense of mystery. The expansive grass and open skies provide little cover, yet the invisible eyes seem to track every movement. Whispers continue to float in the breeze, faint at first, then more distinct, as if carrying fragments of stories long forgotten. Approaching the edge of the field, the trees grow denser, casting deeper shadows. The figures blend with the darkened foliage, their outlines barely discernible. Visitors feel drawn to the boundary between field and forest, a threshold that separates the known from the unknown. Sounds of footsteps or rustling leave visitors questioning whether they are hearing the wind or something more intentional. The atmosphere shifts with the weather. On foggy mornings, the figures seem closer, the whispers more urgent, and the sensation of observation intensifies. Even a gentle rain can amplify the feeling that the field is alive with unseen watchers, each droplet a quiet accompaniment to the weight of presence. Nightfall brings a profound stillness. The field becomes a vast, dark canvas, and shadows stretch and merge. Figures move more subtly now, gliding along the periphery of vision, always present yet never confronting. The whispers soften, mingling with the nocturnal sounds of wildlife, creating an almost hypnotic sense of immersion. Walking through Whitney Fields requires careful attention. Each step, each sound, and each glance toward the tree line is layered with anticipation. Visitors describe a heightened awareness, a deepened sense of connection to the land and its spectral inhabitants. The field becomes more than a location, it transforms into an experience, where past and present intersect in subtle, haunting ways. The presence in the field is constant yet intangible. It leaves traces in the mind long after the visit. Shaping perception and memory. Visitors leave with an understanding that Whitney Fields is not merely open land, but a repository of lingering energy. A place where history and memory manifest in ghostly form. Even after departing, the whispers and the gaze remain vivid. The image of figures at the tree line. The sensation of being watched. And the soft murmur of voices continue to resonate. Whitney Fields is a space where the unseen and the known coexist. Offering an immersive, reflective, and quietly unsettling experience. The field stretches onward, quiet but alive, carrying its stories through the wind and across the grass. Each visitor who crosses its expanse becomes part of its ongoing narrative, a witness to the subtle, persistent presence that defines Whitney Fields. In this open space, the past is always near, and the watchful eyes at the edge of the trees never fully disappear. The river flows quietly through New Iberia, reflecting the moonlight in silver ripples. Along its banks, the old riverwalk stretches into darkness, wooden planks creaking beneath unseen weight. At night, the area takes on a presence that cannot be seen in the daytime, a quiet tension that seems to cling to the mist rising from the water. Visitors walking the riverwalk speak of feeling watched, the sensation beginning as a subtle pressure along their back or shoulders. Some hear footsteps echoing behind them, soft at first, then growing louder, though the docks appear empty. The rhythm of these sounds is deliberate, as if someone walks in step with the living, yet when the visitor turns, nothing answers. A chill drifts across the riverwalk, colder than the night air should allow. Hands brush lightly against arms or shoulders, fleeting touches that vanish before they can be confirmed. The sensation is enough to make even the bravest pause, looking over their shoulders into the darkened expanse. Seeing only shadows cast by the dim lanterns along the docks. Shadows along the river take on life of their own. Dark shapes stretch and shift, lingering near the edges of the water or slipping silently along the planks. These are not the shadows of trees or lamp posts, for they move independently, drifting with intent and disappearing when approached. Witnesses describe a feeling of being followed, not menaced but observed, the presence both intimate and distant at the same time. The atmosphere along the riverwalk is charged with history. The docks have existed for generations, a place where commerce and travel once thrived. And it is said that the memories of those who walked here long ago remain. Some visitors report hearing soft whispers carried by the wind, words they cannot understand. Or voices calling their names from the darkness. The whispers rise and fade like the ebb of the river itself. Persistent and elusive. Occasionally, figures appear at the water's edge, indistinct at first, like reflections warped by the currents. Some see the vague outline of a person standing still, watching the river. Then fading as the light shifts. Others describe fleeting glimpses of a shadow moving past, so close that it feels tangible, yet when looked at directly, it vanishes. The experience leaves a sense of connection to a presence that is neither cruel nor threatening, but impossible to ignore. The wooden planks of the dock seem to amplify the unseen. Every step echoes oddly, carrying further than expected. Creating the impression of multiple people walking together. The sound moves around them, a constant reminder that the riverwalk is more than it appears. Even the river itself seems to respond. Mist rises from the water in thick tendrils, curling around lamp posts and trees. Giving form to the shadows. Ripples spread without cause, reflections distort as though acknowledging the presence of something unseen. Some report feeling a pressure in the chest, a tightness that passes as quickly as it arrives. Leaving only the memory of being watched. The old buildings lining the river add to the sense of life lingering in absence. Windows darkened for decades occasionally reflect shapes that are not inside, figures drifting past where no one should be. Doors creak gently in the wind, and soft, indistinct noises come from the empty spaces between planks and walls. These subtle disturbances suggest that the riverwalk is alive in a way separate from the living world, a space where past and present coexist quietly. Visitors often describe the emotional weight of the experience. The combination of sights, sounds, and sensations creates a tension that is compelling and unsettling. It is not fear in its traditional sense but a profound awareness that one is not alone, that every step along the riverwalk is accompanied by the echo of lives once lived. The shadows are patient, lingering long after the living have departed. Those who leave the docks behind report a lingering sense of presence, an impression that the riverwalk continues to watch, to remember, and to echo with footsteps that no one can follow. Even the fading moonlight cannot erase the feeling that something remains, drifting silently along the edges of the water. Night deepens, and the riverwalk becomes a ribbon of darkness and reflection. Shadows move fluidly along the docks, mist curls and rises. Every creak of wood, every gust of wind. Every ripple in the water seems part of a narrative written long before the visitor arrived. The riverwalk at Shadows on the Techa is more than a place to stroll. It is a living archive of presence, a corridor where history persists in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Footsteps echo, shadows drift, and cold touches remind those who pass that the past has not fully relinquished this place. For anyone who walks these docks, the experience is unforgettable. The river, the mist, the whispers, and the shadows create a profound atmosphere, one that blurs the line between the seen and unseen, the living and the lingering. Where the night carries memory, where every visitor senses the unseen, and where the river tells stories without words, leaving a quiet but enduring impression long after departure. This riverwalk endures as a space of mystery, where each visitor becomes part of its ongoing story, and the shadows continue their silent drift along the water, unseen yet undeniably present. Thank you for joining me tonight on this journey through 25 haunted plantation houses in Louisiana. Each house holds its own story, its own sorrow, its own restless spirits. The beauty of Louisiana hides a darker truth, where shadows linger, where whispers echo, and where some visitors never truly leave. If you ever step inside one of these haunted homes, remember the history. Respect the spirits. And beware, for some ghosts are not content to remain in the past. Sleep well tonight, if you can. If you can.